hear you. I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? And we are live here again at welcome to Philo Sapiens, everybody. And we are, as you know, Philo Sapiens. We critique religion on the basis of logic and philosophy. Basically, we put um, religious ideas on philosophical and logical knife. So with me is Mahaden. That means we have an English stream, and guest scholars are welcome to join and put forth their best arguments for their worldview, whatever religion they follow or whatever belief system they have. And we are here to, have an exchange of ideas on your religion and talk about it. So first, let me welcome Mahaden. Mahaden, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm
First
good.
of all, welcome. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. I'm good. All good. How you doing?
pretty good. Let's see what I'm gonna do is until somebody joins in, what we'll do is we'll review a video. It's a video clip by Muslim Lantern, and by the till then, what I'll do is I'll make the link public. What do you think, Madan? Right? And if anybody wishes to join, they can join. And if we are in the middle of somewhere where we can pause our review, we'll pause it and then get back to it, probably, right? I think that seems like the idea, right?
Yeah, that's
So
fine. Fine. Yep.
okay, okay, uh, I'm making the link public, so anybody who wishes to join is more than welcome to join and put forth their the strongest arguments for their case, basically. So you can see the link is on the screen, as well as what I'm going to do is, Madan, I'm going to pin it. If you have anything to add until then, maybe you can. But till then, what I'll do is just make it, I'll just pin it on this, right? Seems like YouTube has changed a few things, and then I can't find how to go to our channel, basically. View your channel. Okay, let me just go and have that thing pinned. All right, so now it is pinned. Okay, all right, great. I hope it's looking pinned on the YouTube, so anybody can come and join now. What I'll do is, in the meanwhile, I'll share the screen for Martin. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can. I can.
All right, I'll make it a little smaller and full screen, basically. All right, better now, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I think we don't have anybody as of now joining in. So what we'll do is, just to give everybody just a glance on what we're gonna review. This is this Muslim Lantern, Muhammad Ali. I think probably a lot of you guys know of him. And Jacob is an ex-Muslim, and he's an Arab as well. And probably he's a new ex-Muslim, and so he doesn't have a lot of grasp on concepts and definitions, basically. So how Muslim Lantern tears him apart on these things is what we are going to see, and we're going to see where he could have answered better, basically, right, Madin?
No,
Shall
yeah.
we jump in right away?
Go for it.
You said very basic things. Please, we don't need to respond to things on the chat. For instance, give one quick example. What do you have in mind? And anyways, we don't need to respond to it, but we want to see an example of what you would say. You said very basic things.
يخرج من بين الصلب والضرائب.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. So here he presents Surah Tariq, where Allah Azza wa Jal says, فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. Now my question to you is, now you're Egyptian, I'm assuming, but let me ask you this question as someone who speaks Arabic.
Mhm.
Sadly, most of the Arabs, they don't properly speak Arabic. But let me ask you, do you know what Adamir is?
ضمير.
Yes.
A consciousness.
Just clarifying one thing to the audience is that just cutting a few things, basically explaining a few things. This guy came in and he said he became ex-Muslim due to a few reasons, and one of the main reasons was that there are scientific errors in the Quran, basically. And then the Muslim lantern asked him to give a few examples, and that's where the conversation started from. So he's probably giving one of the examples.
No.
Is-
All right, that's
Oh,
fine. I'll
ضمير.
take
Oh, you
from a
mean
linguistic-
ضمير as in
Yes, from a
language,
linguistic
like
point of
ضمير
view.
غائب or ضمير.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why is it ضمير, for instance?
Similar to a pronoun, like what
So
a certain word is.
يخرج. Then after it, you would have something there missing. What is it?
ضمير يخرج هو
Yeah.
أو يخرج هي.
Exactly, excellent. So that which comes out there, now we need to identify what is that. But first, before I do any of that right now, before I will respond to this scientific thing, and then we'll move to whether Islam is true or not. And that's why I was telling you, I don't need to deal with these scientific things that you have, because they're mostly misrepresentation that you have, misunderstandings of science or of what the Quran says. Now, my question to you is this: where is the scientific error? Let's start with that. You make your argument, and then I'll show you why your argument is problematic. Go ahead.
First of all, I'm not going by my interpretations. I've read the interpretations of Ibn Kathir and Qurtubi, and
What is the argument?
The argument is, the Quran is saying that, or what I assume the Quran is saying is, semen comes or is formed or starts forming, or that semen is generally related to the backbone or to the chest, or whichever word صلب والترائب refers to. I know there's a lot of arguments on whether it's for the lady that tara'ib is between the chest or whatever. This area in general, the abdomen part, which we know it's not. Or which
It doesn't say abdomen part there. It says min bayni. What does min bayni means?
I thought one of the tafasir was the
No,
tara'ib.
what does
is
min
like
bayni? Min bayni. What does it mean?
between.
Yes, so it's saying in between something. It's not saying in the tara'ib or in. You said in the abdominal area. This.
Yeah,
okay.
I meant like.
Yes. All right. So you're first. You said semen, and then you said abdominal area. This. Okay. So this argument itself is incorrect, anyways. So now let's highlight why it's incorrect. First, what does the word for
before we do? I'm sorry. Before we do.
Yes.
We agree that the tafasir are saying this.
No. The tafasir are not saying what you're saying. And whether the tafsir say what you're saying or not, we need to look at the text. What is the text saying? Okay. And the tafsir, as I said, are not saying the way you present. Now, first, let's start with, you said semen or sperm. You're referring to that. Where does the Quran? What's the word that the Quran uses for semen and sperm? There is a specific word. Do you know what that word is?
Semen, mani.
For the sperm.
Mani or mani. Yeah.
When it refers to the sperm or the semen, that fluid the human being is created from, specifically the semen or the sperm, Allah uses the word nutfa.
Nutfa also, yeah.
Nutfa specifically. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, and He says in many places about the nutfa, that this is where the human being is created from, right? So does Allah use the word nutfa in Surah Al-Tariq?
I don't think so.
Okay, why is the word used now? So first, you made an argument based on semen and sperm, but the verse in the Quran is not saying nutfa. So what does it say?
ماء مهين.
No, ماء دافق.
يخرج
ماء دافق.
دافق يخرج. Yeah, ماء دافق. I'm sorry, ماء دافق.
Okay, so what does ماء دافق mean?
I assumed it referred to the sperm, to the semen also.
No.
Or the semen.
I'm not interested in assumptions, with all due respect. I'm just saying, what does it mean if we were to literally translate it?
Flowing water, I guess.
Gushing fluid.
Gushing, okay.
So dafiq is something which is gushes out. And water or ma there is going to be fluid. So we have a gushing fluid, right? So Allah Azza wa Jalla says here, there's a gushing fluid. So that gushing fluid now comes out, yakhruju. That gushing fluid comes out. So the initiating process of that thing comes out from where? Between a sulb and a tara'ib. What is the meaning between of the words sulb and tara'ib?
What I know is that it's not, people, mufassirin, mukhtalifin.
What is the general view of the sulb? What the meaning of the sulb? Backbone and tara'ib?
The area between the chest, I think.
The ribs specifically. Yeah. The ribs. So, okay, we have now backbone and we have ribs. Now, do you know that scientifically, between the backbone and the ribs, there's something called the seminal vesicles? Do you know what the seminal vesicles are?
Yeah.
Why is the seminal vesicles?
It's part of the accessory glands that create the semen.
All right. So this seminal vesicle is located by definition between the ribs and the backbone. And the seminal vesicles is where you have the initial fluid that carries the semen and that carries the sperm that the human being then uses to, multiply and have intercourse and all of that. Now, my question to you is this: is not that this is a scientific mistake. Is my question to you is when the Quran now defines that there is now a fluid, a gushing fluid. A gushing fluid, as we know today, comes from these seminal vesicles that are located scientifically between the backbones and the ribs. Now, my question is, how would Prophet Muhammad? Now, what you're trying to use as a doubt is in reality an
They're
evidence.
going to spin it on me. How did he
Yeah,
know?
exactly. How would he possibly know that piece of information? Why wouldn't he use the word nutfa? Why wouldn't he use any other different location other than the specific location?
Mhm.
Now,
All right, this needs to be started here. A lot has been said about this, right? Madin, you remember, I think this is one of the things that we contested when Hamza was talking about it a lot, the scientific miracles of the Quran, right? The embryology of the Quran, right? Now, there are quite a few problems, and I'm pretty sure you're going to talk about it. But before you do, let me point out a few things, right? First thing first, right? I think I think first thing first, this guy throws all the Mufassirin and Ibn Kasir, Qurtubi, their interpretation he has just thrown under the bus. So you have to question, why is it that those are not to be trusted? The classical scholars are not to be trusted, basically. What is that reason, basically? Right? Second thing he says, how would uh, Muhammad know all these things, basically? I mean, anybody could know that. If they have cut a camel, she camel, they would know that where, or I mean, a he camel, they would realize um, this liquid called semen comes from a certain part of the body, right? And it was a knowledge very well known even before Muhammad's time, basically in the 7th century. It was known to Aristotle. Before that, it was known to what's his name, Hippocrates. Then actually Galen, the Byzantine what do you call scientist, had worked a lot on it, this, and his seminal work on it. Basically, I forgot the name of the book that he wrote on it, but he wrote a whole book on embryology, or at least a chapter on embryology, pretty much, right? A long thesis on embryology. So this was a knowledge very well known well before Prophet Muhammad's time, pretty much, right? So not that and anybody could see that, anybody could see a dead he camel or she camel or any animal or even humans and see that there is certain part in human body which is not exactly between backbone and ribs, but if you really stretch your imagination and take your backbone to like the lowest part of your body, pretty much, or your, what do you call, the hindsight, then you can say, oh yes, yes, it's in between the back, the lowest part of the ribs and the backbone, right? But then there is a fundamental flaw, right? I mean, the fundamental flaw here is that semen does not create you. How hard you try to pose that this is scientific, this is not a scientific error. I mean, yes, of course, the sperms go from or move from testes to seminal vesicle, mix with the semen, which is mostly carbohydrates. 99% of the fluid that comes out of excited human organ is semen, but it is that 5% sperms that is the most important, that creates you, pretty much. Even between those 5%, it's just like 1 in a million that fertilizes an egg, pretty much, right? So the Quran is missing very fundamental part by not mentioning the role of testes in this in this verse, right? I mean, there's no, because nobody before Prophet Muhammad knew about it, and that's why it doesn't feature. So Quran copies exactly the same mistake that Hippocrates did, the same mistake that Aristotle did, the same mistake that Galen did, because they didn't have microscopes. They couldn't see through semen as to what's causing, you know, uh, fertilization, basically. And you see it in the Quran pretty clearly. So I mean, this just to begin with my criticism on it, Madan. Yeah,
No,
I'm
yeah,
sure you
no,
have.
yeah, I absolutely agree. I was going to say the same thing. Galen, Hippocrates, they've talked about it. The actual rib and backbone language was used previously, and the fact that it reproduces the same language instead of using different language when it could have indicates that it's man-made. So we don't have to actually show that there's an error per se. All we have to show is that the same language, the same words, the same kind of mentioning, the same kind of imprecise kind of rib cage backbone type of language is itself erroneous. Sorry, is itself an indication of man-madeness. So sometimes we get kind of botched down at the idea that we need to actually demonstrate an error. Like the Quran has to say something like the brain is in the penis, something like that. But we don't have to. You don't have to actually show that sort of mistake. What all you have
Yeah, yeah.
if there's some sort of reproduction of man-made language in some sense, and that language itself is somewhat inaccurate, when it could have, when God had all the resources, all the time, all the linguistic abilities, all the creative and intellectual abilities to just correct it a little bit, and it just doesn't, and yet says all the same things that Galen and all them says. What does that indicate? Is that more is that more fitting of humans reproducing work, or is that more fitting of God restating everything in a God revealing this stuff? Why would God restate everything in the exact same way as it was already stated? That
Yeah,
itself.
Madan, the point I'm trying to make here is, even if, let's say, there were some differences between Galen and the Quranic, and which are there for sure, basically, right? But then the fundamental problem is they didn't the Galens and the Aristotles and the Hippocrates didn't know exactly the role of testes, right? You know what? I think what Galen thought, or what testes did, was to warm up, the semen so that it stays, fertile, or something like that. That was his hypothesis of why testes are there, basically, right? Because they couldn't see the contributing factor of
Yeah.
whatever the fluids were being sent down by testes, which was minimal, very much, because all they could see was the seminal vesicle producing 97% of the mass of the gushing fluid, basically, right?
Yes. And furthermore, just exactly the fact that, right, exactly. So the fact that it doesn't mention anything about the male reproductive system involves so many other various features, like as you said, the testicles, the prostrate gland, yes, the seminal vesicle, the epididymis is where it's stored, the sperm is stored, spermatic cords, um, and the urethra where it comes out of, etc. And the semifilous tubules are actually responsible for creating the sperm. So it doesn't mention any of this stuff, and of course it wouldn't, because men didn't know that part. What men knew was through dissections and anatomical work, through various animals and so on, Galen included, Hippocrates, etc., as you mentioned, they knew about the seminal vesicle, and therefore it talks about that part. And then it also talks about the same, as you said, mistakes of Galen and all those folks, which is that it kind of uses inaccurate language. The seminal vesicle is not in between the ribs and whatever that means, ribs and the backbone, right? Because the area that is between the ribs and the backbone is like the stomach. It's
is
like,
is the kidneys or the lungs,
maybe not
basically,
literally.
right? The lungs,
Kidneys are not
kidneys,
between
stomach,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think it goes all the way down to maybe the large intestines, maybe the liver.
Yeah, maybe you could include
Yeah,
those large
right.
intestines,
Yeah,
probably. Yes.
the today that's called the abdominal cavity. I think medically, I think I'm not a doctor. I'm nor am I a biologist. But the pelvic cavity is where is the seminal vesicles, and the pelvic cavity is not between. The seminal vesicle is not near your digestive system. It's not near your
Right.
heart. It's not near your lungs. It's below your backbone and ribs. It is close to the backbone, but it's not between the backbone and ribs. So this is better illustrated if you have an image, and I think we showed an image once in the past where the space between the backbones and ribs are, and where the pelvic cavity is. The pelvic cavity is not situated between the backbone and ribs, and therefore, yes, this is kind of the Galen Hippocratic mistake. Maybe more so Galen. I'm not sure exactly, but around that sort of kind of antiquity, historical antiquity, you know, and it's reproduced in the Quran. I think it's Hippocrates mainly. Is it Hippocrates who says the rib and that kind of language? And it's reproduced in the Quran. Why? Why would you reproduce? You know,
Yeah,
the
I
most
think Hippocrates probably uses that language, right?
yes. So
And but Galen used a different language, by the way. But yeah, I mean that's why you can see that Quran is not, it's not a unique description. Basically, not someone who's like the creator of all the things in the universe, right? It's simply coming from the creator of a creator who existed like 900 years ago, basically, when the Quran was probably revealed. I don't know. I mean, yeah, let's not go there. I'm just going to show an image explaining where the seminal vesicles are, basically, right? And this the Madan, as you just said, this image should explain as to what uh, someone of that stature or with that much knowledge should have told, if even if he entered into explaining you know this thing, basically. So these are the components, as you said, Madan, all of these required in the whole reproductive um, chain, as you will, right? And I think number 8, where is seminal vesicle here? Can we see seminal vesicle here? I think it's not here, right? Okay, let me just change the image. Seminal vesicle, right?
I suspect it's near the prostate, between the prostate and
Yeah,
bladder, somewhere like that.
yeah, yeah. Hold on, I'm just sharing an image. All right. Can you guys see it? Can you see it?
Yeah, there you go. Near the prostate, near the bladder.
Right. Seminal vesicle. This is seminal vesicle, right?
Now, if the seminal vesicle is between the backbone and the ribs, then your penis may as well be, and your bladder may as well. I don't mean my bladder was next to my belly.
If seminal vesicle is between backbone and the ribs, then your brain is also between, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous. I mean, to what length do you have to go to to make your book not look stupid, pretty much,
Yeah. Now, I don't know why Hippocrates made this mistake. Is it because he studied it in non-human animals? Is that why? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, Madan. I think probably that may be the case. Basically, they probably studied some animals uh, which had long tailbones or something like that, or maybe the definition of um, uh, what do you call backbone, it was a different thing at that time, probably. Maybe I'm just giving them this benefit of doubt, pretty much, at this
Yeah.
point.
So
So yeah, sorry guys, this image is not for kids, and our our streams are not for kids, so this should be fine. By the way, but as you said, I mean, so much of the most fundamental thing is not mentioned at all, right? I mean, maybe they are probably their language is so bad that they probably included testes in the between backbone and the ribs as well, probably.
yeah, yeah. So y- in my view, in my methodology, you don't actually have to show a mistake in the Quran. It's just anything that fits the theory of man-made, the man-made hypothesis. Anything that fits into that column is sufficient to demonstrate that this is man-made. So even if it reproduces correct information of the time, if it is indeed consistent with what men knew at the time, then that is indication that this was something that was created by man. You have to have something different and far more grandstanding, far more astonishing, that helps differentiate it from what man knew at the time. So if men knew something at the time, then that's the more plausible theory, is that this is man-made. So if men knew that, for example, it comes from the seminal vesicle and the location of the seminal vesicle is near the backbone and the ribs, let's hypothetically assume that, then even if that was
That's true, right? Yeah,
even if
yeah,
that was correct, that wouldn't show that the Quran knew the God. The Quran
yeah.
said,
It's not an extraordinary information, right?
yeah,
It's nothing new that's
yeah,
been.
yeah. But the fact that the imprecise language, not, I'm being charitable by saying imprecise. You could say erroneous language that was already used at the time shows that it's both an error and it's man-made. Yep.
Right, right, right. All right, let's stop. Shall we pause that review and have a conversation with C
Yeah,
time?
sure.
Maybe,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
All right, C time. It's your time now. C time. I think did I mute you? And do I have to unmute you to for you to talk? All right. Yeah.
Yeah, this, yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone.
All right. How are you
Philosopher,
doing?
this is, yeah, all good. This is your English channel, no?
Yeah.
And
No, this is right
from
now we
both.
are streaming on the same channel, but yeah, stream is in English, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. So this
Our
because
English
previous
channel is
time it was
Unveiling
Hindi.
Faith, by the way. Yeah, it's if you look at the banner down below, we have that at the rate Unveiling Faith. That's our English only channel, which as the time progresses and we have more and more subscribers on that, then we'll stream in English on that channel.
Okay, 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 okay. So because previous time you were streaming in Hindi, and I'm much more comfortable in Hindi. That's why I thought that today's stream is also in Hindi.
No,
But
no, no.
anyway,
Today's is in English, by the way. Yeah.
I can manage it. No problem.
So
Uh,
whenever you have to keep in mind whenever Mahadan is there, we are streaming in English basically.
Okay, okay, sure, sure, man. But no problem. I don't have much problem in Hindi. But yeah, it is much more comfortable when Hindi streams are going on.
All right,
But anyway,
sure. If you have anything, you can go ahead and ask your question. If if not, then it's up to you basically.
yeah, because I want to know that you people are atheist, right?
We are atheists basically, right? I mean, I say I'm an atheist, but my credence level of atheism is not 100%. Basically, I don't say there are no gods basically, right? With 100% certainty. I
Uh,
have a credence level which I would put say I'm 70 or 80% sure that there are no gods, and uh, that too for theistic gods, basically gods of Allah, Yahweh, Brahma, whatever, Vishnu,
okay, okay,
Hindu
okay.
gods.
So, you
Uh,
guys,
right.
you guys know what Advaita? I think you are from India, so you have a basic knowledge of Advait Vedanta, I think, right?
Advait Vedanta, I'm not aware of. Can you explain? I've heard a few guys, practicing it, but I'm not. everything is one or something like that, right? I mean, it's something similar to um, what do you call panentheism or something like that.
No, 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 no. It is not
Okay.
like polytheism or pantheism, you say. It is
Hmm.
more like what you say. Uh, ah, its core philosophy is very different from other philosophies,
Hmm.
and you people are atheists,
But
so
do you have a concept of God?
it is concept of God, but it is not a concept of creator. There is no
So what
concept
do you
of
mean by concept of God? What properties or what attributes that God has? So the what do you
uh,
believe that the universe has always existed? Universe is eternal.
yeah,
Is that
yeah.
okay?
The universe is eternal,
Hmm.
and there is no creator at all. It is like
Okay.
that only,
So
only.
what's the role of God in that uh, eternal
Yeah,
universe?
there is see the concept of Advait Vedanta starts from when it says God is infinite and unimaginable, beyond imaginations. So it goes like that. If God is infinitive, then this means that God the extents of God cannot be measured. Means it is extended infinite in all the directions and everywhere. You know. So if we go with this logic, then Vedanta says that the God, if there is an infinity God, then there cannot be a scope of anything else to exist other than God only. So by this logic, we extend further, then it means that the everything which we see or which we cannot see, or anything we can imagine or we cannot imagine, everything is God. Everything is part of God or God in itself. So in this way,
So
the
so
Advaita
in
Vedanta says
so
that
you
everything is
have a
God.
problem right away. I think I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, you said universe is uncreated, eternal. And then in the next line, you said, correct me if I'm wrong, and Madan can correct me as well if I understood it right or not. And then you say
Mm.
everything is God. So I think there's a seems to be a contradiction because then the universe should also be God, basically, right? But you say that
Universe
universe
is
is
God.
eternal,
Universe is philosophical. Universe is
and that's why I
God.
said you believe in panentheism because that's what panentheism is.
No, panentheism, the basic concept of panentheism is that everything
Everything is
originates
God,
from
pretty
God.
much, right? Yeah?
No, originates from God. Everything originates from God, it says.
Right.
I think so. But here it is not like that.
One of these two, pantheism and panentheism, right? It should match the Advait Vedanta, then should match one of these two, basically, right?
You may say,
Uh,
but it
Pantheism
is,
believes everything is God, basically, right?
yeah, there is God in everything. I think that is the concept that there is
That
a
is
God in
pantheism, right?
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is God in everything, but it is not like that. In Vedanta, if you see, it says that everything is God in a sense, there is nothing other than God. There is nothing exists other than God. It says like that, if you
So
understand
how do
philosophy.
you differentiate between somebody saying everything God is in everything and everything is God? Yeah, I mean they do sound different, but what is the differentiating
because
factor?
because the people who are saying that there is God in everything
The
is
things are still different. Things are still
yeah,
different in that case, you're saying.
because it is the philosophy of Dwait. Dwait says there is God in everything, but it is different from Advait. Advait says that there is nothing other than God. It is totally different because if you see, there is God in everything, means there is something where, in which God is there present. You know,
Hmm.
if I say there is God in everything, then there should be something in which God is present. God is present in everything, means there is something exist in which God is there.
So
You
somebody could
understand
say,
my
and
point?
sorry if I say this, and don't mind. It's just for it's an example that's probably gonna sound a bad example. If somebody
Yep.
says a horse manure is God, that would be right in Advait Vedanta, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's totally correct in if you say that. There is no problem
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it.
I mean, if somebody
According to
somebody says that horse shit is God, that's perfectly fine, right? That's
that is perfectly fine, because
yeah. Hmm.
the everything which is bad or good is a prospect, is the perspective of man,
Hmm.
is the perspective of culture, is the perspective of a person, or a perspective of you can say a perspective of a society. But
So
God
do
is
you
God
worship
is beyond that.
anybody? Do you
So
worship anybody?
let me just intervene here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wouldn't even your perspective, if everything is God, wouldn't even your perspective be God?
Right, exactly.
yeah. What you said?
Wouldn't your
So Madin
perspective?
said that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Madin. Sorry.
No, no, that's it. I'm just saying. I'm just getting clarification because I'm not sure whether it's correct.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
saying,
looking for the same clarification as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
say everything is God, and
Mhm.
your wouldn't your perspective be God?
The
I mean,
perspective is
you yourself are God, Madan, and then
Yeah.
you yourself are God, basically. So why
yeah,
does it
you
matter?
yourself
Mm.
is God.
Why is it different that your perspective is different from God's perspective?
Yeah, yeah, that's
If
clarification.
you abhor horse manure, does that mean God abhors what he himself is?
Yeah, philosopher. There is clarification in Advait Vedanta about this also. I want to open my camera. Can you allow me to open my camera? Can I? Am I allowed to open my camera and show you something?
Sure, I think you can open it as long as you don't ask me to remove it afterwards, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is what I'm going to show you something here by an example. What
I'm
Advait says.
gonna zoom in your
Yeah,
this thing, right?
yep. Can you? Yeah, thank you. So, philosophy, they see what Advait Vedanta clarifies it. See, if there is a number line, Advaita Vedanta says a number line goes from infinity to infinity, right? Then everything which exists on it is the world we see. Like one, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, and up to infinity, if you understand. Then it says if we take this all set, this number in a set S1, then the participants of S1, the number of participant here is infinite. Correct? Now, if I consider myself as 0 and 1, this part is me, then what Advait says is if we see the numbers or the presence of numbers inside this 001, 002, 003, and so on, this is also infinite numbers of set. So if we say this, the numbers inside this is S2, the total number here should also be the number infinite. So S2 and S1 both are infinite. But because what happens here, that we are in a finite form, we perceive ourselves in an infinite form, so we look outside from us. We we are not looking inside ourselves. So what happened is our perspective is not infinite. Means we are not okay. If it is okay, then I can off the camera.
Sure,
If you
go
people
ahead.
understand. Yeah. So with this concept, what happens is because we are 0 to 1, we perceive ourselves as an finite body. Although we are infinite, but we cannot understand ourselves as a form of infinite. We perceive ourselves as a finite form only. And when there is finite form, we have some finite possibilities inside us which we perceive. So that's why we people just gets we do not act, or we cannot think as the god thinks. We have differences in ourselves from the god. So although we are god, but we cannot perceive ourselves as a god. That's why this misconceptions and everything is happening. So this is the prospect of Advait for this misconception, or what we are doing as a person here. It deals with.
Martin, you want to add something to it? And you want to respond to it?
Um,
Uh, I have just a very minor, problem with this, basically. All right, Anthony has joined as well. Anthony,
Hey, hey,
how are you doing? Let me
good.
just finish our conversation with seed time, and then we are
No
gonna
problem. No
get back to
problem.
you.
Go ahead. Go
Is that
ahead.
okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, all right. All right. So, C time. You the problem with you, the kind of notification, the set theory that you depicted over there, it has a very fundamental problem. Did you realize what the problem was in the mathematics that you depicted over there?
See, this is a way of
So you you
this is
you
not.
you tried to intermingle two different transfinite theory with this basically. So one set is a countable infinity, and the other set that you depicted is uncountable infinity, right? And
Yeah,
uncountable infinity is greater than the countable infinity. Basically, that's what the
yeah.
transfinite arithmetic says. Basically,
This
right?
is only this is only the form
And
of
so in your example, I'm saying why your example is flawed basically, is basically you
no, no.
said hold on,
You
let me just finish my
you
thought.
literally,
Hold on, let me
literally.
just finish my thought. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Let me finish my thought. Right? I'll let you come
Okay,
back on this, right?
sure, sure, sure.
You have to let others finish their thoughts and then jump in, right? We
Yeah,
we were
sure.
quiet for when you were talking, right? For 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Okay? All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Okay. So now the infinity that you pointed, the rational numbers are said uncountable infinity, and then the other infinity that you showed uh, on the number line is the countable infinity, basically. So I'm saying in your examples, what you showed that the humans, us, are greater than the God, basically. That because that infinity, if you're going by your example, so that's just a problem with your example. Well, probably that's what you don't mean it, maybe, or you wherever you got that example from your guru or whoever you gave it to you, maybe gave a wrong example, right? That's not how mathematics works, right? Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Madhan,
okay.
you want to have um, you want to say something about it, or
no, let's see time respond.
okay, go ahead, see time.
Yeah, see, philosophy, what the problem is, you have taken the example in a literal mathematical, what you call lecture. It's not like that. The thing is, this is just an symbolization of possibilities within yourself, and the possibilities between 0 to 1 is almost that in that a vast concept, because the adhyatma what we called the teachings, the Vedic teachings, says that person have a infinite possibilities inside him. So it is not like that. It is literally meaning that you can fly and you can fly, means you can do some miracles and all. It is not saying like that, that what God is doing in a literal meaning of miracles, which other philosophies are talking about. That is not the same thing is expected from human in a Vedic teaching. It is just saying that you have the immense possibilities inside yourself to transform yourself. Means this transformation is on your what you called on your uh, mental level. It is not that you become something like same God as depicted by the other religions. It is not like that. It is just saying that you have possibilities. You can
Yeah, I sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I
yeah.
understand your explanation, right? I think we all understood your explanation. The
Yeah.
problem is that the example you use is not gonna achieve your end goal, basically, right? Because if you were to rightly depict that, what you'll have to do is what you did, you have to just reverse it, basically. What you showed for God as the infinity in the timeline, as in natural numbers, 1 to infinity, you have to make that
What I
for
have said,
humans. And then
yeah,
it's your example is gonna look really absurd to you, because your God will occupy a really small space on the number line, and all the humans will occupy like infinite space on the number line. Yeah, right?
no, 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 no. You
You
have
see
taken
my
it.
problem,
You have
basically the
taken it
problem I'm trying to
reverse now.
explain.
You have taken it reverse. What I have said. See, I already showed that this is the infinite series, which is God, infinite series, and
Right.
we are one, two,
I
three, four,
understood you
five, six, seven,
properly.
eight.
See time, I understood you properly. That's what I'm saying. If you see that number line, and if you're just
Yeah,
making, don't make a, uh, you know, timeline to be a natural number, basically. That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you want to use mathematical symbols over there, maybe use some rational number line, basically. Write an R over there instead of an capital N, basically. You understand mathematical languages, right?
yeah, yeah.
A set of, don't use a set of n, use a set of r for God, basically. Now your example becomes right. So I improved your example, basically.
Yeah, that's the main thing. What I was
Yeah,
trying to
no,
say.
I understood your problem. I'm right.
Yeah. So the thing is, we cannot perceive is because we are very small thing in the vast reality. See, we are
Okay,
very small part of the vast reality. That's
all
why
right,
we cannot perceive ourselves as immense possibilities. We are just acting in a finite way.
all right.
So
Okay,
the
see
problem.
time, perfectly fine. That's your philosophy, and that's your belief system, right? That's just the
Yeah.
same belief system as Christians having a heaven and hell, Muslims having heaven and hell. How do you how do you say that that's the correct worldview, basically, right? Now get to some real arguments, or you know examples, or what do you call, how would you provide definite evidence that all the other philosophies are weaker than what your worldview is, basically?
Because if you see philosophy, everything which Advaita Vedanta cover, uh, I cannot say that it will be covered in this 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but I try my best to make you realize what actually it says about this what you call the actions and reactions and everything. Because there is no anything like heaven and hell in this philosophy. And it says actually there is there is nothing other than God. So it basically means everything which we see is just one, you know means everything is
Yeah,
God if you
we
see.
understand. See time, we understand that that's what you believe. It's a claim, right? And
Well,
what I'm
can I say
wondering.
something to see time?
Sure, go ahead, Anthony. I'm
See,
waiting for a solid evidence or an
yeah.
argument, solid,
So,
Well, I just
argument.
want
example,
to
Basically.
ask C time
I'm
something.
going
C
for the
time.
example only.
C time. Can you hear
Yeah,
me? C
sure.
time. Okay, yeah. So if everything is one, why are you arguing with someone else?
No, I'm saying something. Let me complete this one, then you will come to know what I'm actually trying to say. See, what happened is when you say everything is God, then it basically means everything is one, right? And it is very much logical, because everything you do in the world, if you do something wrong or if you do something right, it will come to you. If you see in the in the perspective of society, or if you see or you say see it in a prospect of spirituality, here the two things become very on the very same page, on the very same page. Like for an example, if I do in a way of spirituality, if I say, if I do something bad to other person, it is not I am doing something bad to the other person. It is actually I am doing something bad for me on for myself only. And if we will go in a worldly prospect, then what we see that there is a karma which comes around you, and it will hit back to you. If you do something wrong, it will come to you on the in a later time. So here also you can say it's justify the things very very logically. If you want me to elaborate the concept of karma also, then I go ahead
No,
and I
I
will.
think we'll go
Yeah.
on tangent with the karma
Yeah.
problem,
C
right? I
time.
think we want to stick to the irrefutable evidence that Advait Vedanta is the right
Yes.
way, and Islam is false, Christianity is false, atheists are stupid, and agnostics are the dumbest on the
No, no,
planet Earth, and all those
I'm not
things.
commenting
No,
anything
I'm just saying,
bad
I'm just
in
saying,
others.
just being facetious over here,
But C
right?
time, your position doesn't make sense. So if everything is
Right.
one, then there can't be good
Yes.
and bad.
Yeah, yeah. I'm coming
See,
to that also. I'm coming to that also. I just put one logic here.
Yeah. So I'm
I
just
have
saying
put
your
one.
your your worldview is logically incoherent because you're saying that
Yeah,
everything is one, but then
I'm coming to the
you
logic.
have
I'm coming
diversity.
to the logic. I'm coming to the logic only. See,
Yeah. Right.
if you have done something bad to others, is actually you are doing bad to yourself only. In a worldly perspective, I come and then I come here on my spiritual way. First, worldly view, what you see, you see that you have done something bad in the society. You are making some bad examples in the society. You know, if you have done something bad, you have made one bad example in the society. The society will start working on this, and not it is not going to end over there only. The bad things in the society will later on affect on you, or to your generation, or anything other. You
but
understand what I am saying?
how can it be bad when God Himself is doing it? Basically, right? You are God, of course. All
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doing is by God, right?
But
So
you are in a finite form.
how can see time? How can you separate you from God? Basically,
Because I am finite. I am perceiving myself in a
yeah, you
finite
are
way.
finite, but you are part of God, right?
Yeah, I am infinite. I have infinite possibilities in myself, but
Right.
I am perceiving
So
myself
hold on,
in a
hold on, hold
finite
on,
way.
hold on. Go step by step. Go step by step.
Yeah,
You have infinite possibilities, right? Do
yeah.
you think out of those infinite possibilities, there is some part that does not intersect with God's possibilities?
I am saying that you
Hold on,
are.
answer my
You are
question.
no, no,
You'll understand why I'm asking that question.
okay.
Answer that
I am
question.
answering. I am answering you. Answering you. See, the God is, you already made that point that you are infinite possibilities, but you don't understand it because you are acting in a finite way. Your
I'm not saying
perception of God,
you understand it or not. I'm saying do your infinite possibilities
yeah,
when drawn in
I
a
have,
Venn diagram, do they intersect with do they are they contained in God's possibilities or not?
yeah, yeah, it's contained within the God's possibilities
Right.
only.
So then it's all that you do and all your possibilities are God, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right.
Right. So all your bad thoughts are God's bad thoughts as well.
Yeah, you can say in that sense also.
Right. So you're not to be blamed, right?
No, I am blamed. I will be
Why?
blamed.
Why?
It should be, yeah, yeah. I'm saying I why I'm blamed here
See, that's why I'm
because
saying your philosophy
no,
is
no, you come.
incoherent. That's what Anthony was saying as well.
Okay, okay. One second. I'm going here. I'm coming to this point also. See, you were saying why you are you should not be blamed because you are God, right? Right? Because your possibilities are of God. You're saying same thing here only.
Right, right. You already agreed to that, right?
No,
All the possibilities that the infinite possibilities that you contain,
no. Yes,
right,
I am also considering in some possibilities.
are a subset of God's possibilities, right?
You can say that it is a subsect
And
also,
if
or
you
you can.
because if you disagree with that statement, then
Mhm.
not everything is God. Your first statement fails, basically, right?
No, no, no.
Of Advait
I'm
Vedanta,
totally,
basically, right?
I'm totally agreed here, bro, philosopher, because you said there is your possibilities and God's possibilities are on the same page. Yes, gods have all the possibilities, wrong, right, everything. You cannot say that God is only right or only wrong. See, or and I am also all the right and all the wrong. I am blamed or not blamed is the later thing. But
See
first thing
time.
is
Here's the
that
problem though, buddy. When
I'm
you
coming
say
to that.
God, but here's the
Let
thing.
me let me complete,
No, no,
bro.
no,
The,
because here's the problem though, see time, because what you're saying
so
isn't
just
coherent.
then you refute me if I am wrong. Then refute me. For the
Well,
blaming and not blaming is different thing, bro. Who is blaming me? The other person. But there is no other person who is going to blame me. You understand what I'm saying? I am saying that there is nothing other than God. There is only one thing here, and only one person or only one personality is existing, nothing other. If you are doing something wrong, you are doing with yourself. You are doing good, then you are doing with yourself. You are not two persons in Advaita. You are not two, you are just one. You understand, philosopher, what I am saying?
we get it. We get
Blaming
it.
or not
We get it.
blaming are coming into the existence when there are two things, creator and creation. But here there is nothing like that. Here only one personality is there. So who is going to blame whom? You are doing bad to yourself. You are doing good to yourself. You
So
understand
see
my
time.
philosophy?
Yes, we
Yeah.
understand. Here's the problem. And this is why I cut you off. Because everything that you're
Yes.
saying is incoherent. Because here's the problem. You keep saying that everything is one. If everything is
Yes.
one, then you can't speak of any sort of diversity. You can't speak of there being a right and wrong. You can't speak of otherness because everything is one.
Anthony.
So as soon as you say good and bad, that means that there's no, you're going against the unity that you're claiming. So what you're saying is
Okay.
incoherent and illogical, and so that's why I cut you off.
Can I speak, Anthony?
Go ahead.
Yep. See, Anthony, what the reality is and what you are perceiving is the playing role here.
Hold on,
If
time out, time out, time out. Here's the thing, you made another fundamental problem. What reality is and what I'm perceiving. That's a distinction. But there can't be distinction if everything's unity.
I'm not getting you or you are not getting me, what I'm saying.
I completely
See,
understand what you're saying. I
I'm
I
saying
completely understand what you're saying.
see, the perceiveness. What you are perceiving and what you are is totally different. You are perceiving
Exactly. There
yourself.
can't be different. There can't be different if everything is unity.
No, 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 bro. It can be. It can be. And why it is happening? There is a total logical thing over here. If you see, I am giving you a small example. Please listen this examples, and this example is only for your understanding. Don't go literally over there. Okay. And I'm giving one just single example here. Please try to understand. If you see, lion is not the cleverest animal. Lion is not the strongest animal. Lion is not the biggest animal. Lion is not fastest animal. These all qualities are not within the lion, but we say that lion is the king of the jungle. Why this is said? Because lion uh, perceive it like that. Lion think that he is the king of jungle. His attitude says that he understand himself as the king. So the people or anything, anyone say it, the lion is the king because he believes he is king. So belief is a very important thing here. If you believe that you have infinite number of possibilities within you, then only you can act in such a way. You understand what I am saying? If you hurt other person and you feel the pain because you think that he's not the other person is not the other, he's the a person he's I am hurting myself only, then this belief make you the feel your pain. If a family person from your side is in pain, you feel the pain because you can relate with the family person. But for other persons you are not feeling that pain. You understand? Then why you are not feeling the pain? Because you cannot relate with him. When you perceive
Yeah.
the thing in such a manner that everything is one, the other person is not other, but it is we all are one. Then in that sense, when you believe, then only you can say that I am infinite. If you don't
Okay.
believe in this sense, then you are just acting like something very finite.
All right. See time. So I'm going to ask you two questions. Is everything one?
Yeah, everything is one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Is perception and reality one?
Perception and reality is the you can say the reality always form on your perception.
So it's one.
There is nothing to. There is nothing to. Your perception is
Okay.
your reality.
Okay.
Your reality is your perception. What you perceive is your reality.
So if
You
everything is
understand?
one, I thought
Yeah.
your whole thing was just saying that perception and reality are different than one another. I thought
Yeah,
that's what
your
you were saying.
perception, see. What I have said, if you go deeper, you will understand. The lion believe he is king, that's why he is king. If you don't believe he is king, he will not be king. That's simple. If I
Okay, so
perceive I am
perception and reality are distinct from each
are the
other.
same thing. Are the same thing.
Wait, how are
It
they
is
the same
one.
thing? If the lion,
Because it is one.
let's
Because
use
it is
your
one. You
example.
perceive you are finite, you are finite. You perceive you are infinite, you will be infinite. That's the thing only. But you have to believe for something bigger.
Okay, so
If you understand.
is the lion the king of the jungle?
Yeah,
Okay, but
yeah.
what about the lion doesn't believe that he's the king of the jungle? Is he still the king of the jungle?
If you again you are taking the example on literal sense. You are going on
Well,
a
that
round.
no. See time. Follow it. Relax for a second. Calm down. If the lion doesn't
Yeah,
perceive that he's the king of the jungle, that means his
he will not be king.
perception.
He will not be
See
king. He will
time.
not
See
probably
time.
be king.
See time.
Yep.
See time. Okay, I'll use a human example. Let's say that I'm really strong, but I don't think that I'm strong. Is my perception in accordance with reality? Yes or no?
If you don't believe that you are strong, then you cannot be. It's
But
the
what about if I
reality.
am strong though?
you will be stronger in other sense, but you on a mental level you are weak,
I didn't.
and
Yeah, but I'm
everything is
not talking about.
mental. Your
I'm talking
physical
about
appearance,
muscular level, like
your
muscular
physical
level,
appearance
like muscular
is
level.
not very much important in a spiritual world. In a spiritual world, your physical appearance is not very much important. Spiritual means something about your thoughts, your mentality, and everything else. It's not about
Yeah,
your
yeah,
physical appearance.
yeah. Again, if everything is one, there's no such thing as these categories that you're making.
Yeah, what are you saying, bro? I
Okay,
can't hear.
how can there be mental, how can there be all these other things that you're speaking about? You're making categories in which are distinct from one another. But you believe that everything is one, but you're making distinctions. You keep you're
Bro,
everything that
it's
you're
a
saying
spiritual
is self-refuting.
philosophy.
So
You
everything is
understand
not
my
one. So
what I am here is
if
not if
my
you
if
go
my head
inside the
listen,
biology or if you go
see
inside
time,
the
see time.
yeah.
Am I a different person than you?
All right, guys, I'll have to intervene here, right? I think we should terminate
Move
this
on.
over
Yeah.
here. Maybe get
Yeah.
some real evidence from C time next time, right? Because we are stranded in this thing where we cannot get out of probably.
Let's
Madin,
just
are you
leave him with
still
this
there?
last question. Leave him with this last question real quick. I want to leave him with
Sure,
this last
sure,
question.
sure.
See time. Am I a distinct person than you are?
Can you please your voice is not very much clear, Anthony. Can you please
Am,
repeat?
am I a distinct person from you?
Distinct person, if I believe in that, then you will be very yeah. But if I
What?
don't think, we are one, bro.
So what about if I don't think that we're distinct people, but you believe that we are the same people?
Yeah, but you for you you are I am the different one, but for me you will be the same person.
How does that logically make any sense? But that's it. We don't have to go further anymore. I think
Yeah,
we said enough.
we can yeah we can accelerate it some in some other session. I think.
Right. I think what C time believes is similar to what even Khali mentioned, and some Sufis believe in that is Wahadatul Wujud basically, and unity in
Uh,
essence basically. That's what it is. It's a Sufi
no,
concept as well, pretty
philosopher,
much similar to that.
one small comment from my side I want to make
Hmm.
here, that
Hmm.
the Sufism is originated from India only, and it is originated in around 15th century.
Right.
And this theory is if you say the copy of Advait Vedanta only. The same teachings are transferred in Persian form, and it takes a new name which is Sufism, but it is totally same. And 100% I can say it is same with Advait, because Advait is originated in 10th, 9th and 10th century, 500 years before that. And the same thing like Aham Brahmasmi means I am the God is the concept of this theory, Advait Vedanta. And Alahan Haq, which is the same meaning, that I am the truth, Alahan Haq, I am the only truth, is the philosophy of Sufism. So these things are not two, just one thing named differently, you have mentioned over here.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay, quite possible. I mean, yeah, it's possible that some of these ideas trickled from one religion to the other, and yeah, quite possible. I cannot say, one way or the other for sure, right?
Yeah,
All right.
you have some questions or something like that.
No, I think what
Is-
we'll do is, I mean, so far what we have heard from you, and probably we'll end discussion with you here, and then get on to discussing with Anthony. Right?
Yes, sir.
Anthony, am I pronouncing your name correctly? It's
Yes.
Anthony or
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes. Either
Anthony,
way is
right?
fine. No problem. No problem.
Okay. So what I'm saying is we haven't heard any solid, evidence from you right now. What we have heard from you is what, if you were to smoke some, good green stuff, and what you'll theorize is basically what we hear. but there has to be some real solid evidence as to why we should believe what you are saying is, is true or correct, basically. But we'll leave it for some other time, right?
Okay,
C10,
okay,
right?
okay, sure. Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. All right, Anthony. Madan, you still there?
You may have stepped away for a second or something.
Madan, I'm not sure if Madan probably just fell asleep.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry I came on a little late. I just saw your email. I was actually on a different live talking to some other people. So
All right. Okay. Yeah. I think I don't know where Madan is. Probably Madan wanted to really talk to you, basically, because we he thought that the discussion we started should have been finished, basically, and should be finished, basically, on morality, basically, right, the other day.
yeah. So question for you though, just a side topic. You used to be a Muslim.
We are a group of ex-Muslims and atheists, basically, right?
So how did you what led you away from Islam and then to atheism?
Right. So I've been an atheist for uh, much longer, basically, right? But my so I've been an atheist for probably 30 years now, maybe something like that. But my activism started after I think I tell this story quite often, and it's become like probably a little boring right now. I met Salman Rushdie quite some time back, and then when and Madan and I met probably about um, 12 years ago or 13 years ago. We were probably refuting some claims by some Muslim apologists. Probably you have heard his name, Hamza Sources. I don't know if you have
Yep,
heard his name or not.
yep, I have. Yep.
So he used to have a Facebook page at that time, and he was a strong proponent of, scientific miracles in the Quran, kind of a apologetics, basically, right? At that
Yeah.
time, and he retracted his view basically later on in probably 2013, 2014, something like that. But around 2011, 2012, Mahaden and I used to be on his Facebook page, refuting his arguments, basically, as to why his arguments don't work, basically. And so from then on, Mahaden and I decided that we should have something, some of, a blog or something like that. And then finally we decided to have a YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, each one of us has different, reasons as to why,
Sure.
they change, they drop God out of their, basically,
Yeah.
hypothesis, pretty much,
It,
right?
it it's funny.
And
It's
for
funny that
me,
you
it was
mentioned.
that
Sorry, go
prayers
ahead.
prayers didn't seem to work pretty much, right, most of the times. And then I realized that those were futile, because anytime you prayed, the things would happen, uh, would with the same frequency as the chance or as your skills, pretty much, right? If you were skilled, then your prayers would work more frequently. But if you were not skilled, then your prayers won't work as much, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned Hamza Zortis, right? That's his name, Zortis.
Exorcists, yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
Zortis.
yeah, yeah.
I've used him a few times um, to refute Muslims on that specific topic of miracles and stuff like that. So that's interesting that you brought up him.
Right, right. Yeah. I think we have reviewed quite a few. I think we have reviewed quite a few of his video clips, as well as one of his debates that happened in Johannesburg, with a couple of atheist guys. And so we have reviewed that as well on our channel. You can find it in on this channel as well as our English only channel as well, which is Unveiling Faith, basically. We have
So
Roman Little
yeah,
as well. Right. Sorry, Anthony. Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah,
I'm
so
wondering where Madan is. Madan, are you still awake, or you just left the stream? I don't know. Madan just Okay, let me see. I don't know.
You want to message him or something?
Yeah, I think he just probably dropped out.
So you said that, you know, it seemed like you were saying that one of the reasons you left Islam because prayer wasn't working, right?
See, we all have our different reasons, right? And Mahadan, as far as I remember, he told us that Mahadan, uh, you know, instantly left religion because he has always been into philosophy, and he's the one among us who has studied philosophy in academia, pretty much in a sense, in a formal sense, basically, right? And Kali and myself, we are philosophy enthusiasts, and but we haven't, done any courses in it, basically any academic courses on it, right? So our understanding is more like a popular kind of an understanding, but Madin is one who has like real deep understanding of philosophy, pretty much, right?
Yeah. So are you? So what is your, what is your take now in terms of, gaining knowledge? Are you, someone who takes a position of like science and stuff like that? Wherever the evidence leads, is that how you kind of come to convictions of truth now?
Right. I mean, I think reason would be one of the fundamental
Reason.
things where you form your basis for reality, basically, is what I would say. And science
So
is
reason.
one of the most science is one strong component in that um, uh, wider Venn diagram, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Science is kind of a subcomponent of that reason, basically, right? Still.
So my follow-up question then would be if Christianity was shown, given you evidence to be true, or if Christianity was true, would you believe it?
I think, see, I don't know. I think you asked me that question, or somebody else asked me
I
that
didn't. I
question.
didn't. I didn't
And
ask you that.
no, no, I mean, what is my credence level for, Christianity or Islam or Hinduism or any other religion, right? Man-made religion. At least that's what I think they are man-made. And my credence level is very low on them, right? So you'll have to bring some really good evidence for us to move towards thinking about that, basically, right?
So what I'm just saying though is hypothetically speaking, well, not hypothetical, but I'm saying though from your just a hypothetical situation, if Christianity were true, right, would you believe it? Like if someone could prove that it was true to you, would you believe it?
I mean, if it were true, right? I mean, as if I mean, this is a loaded question, right? I mean, of course, yes, I would, right?
Okay.
I mean, there has to be no denying, but I mean, I won't even have to think about it, right? I would be convinced, right? If I'm convinced, then I'll believe it, right? Of course.
Yeah, so the reason why I asked the question though is because there's many atheists that you talk to and you ask them that same question and their answer is no. And so if they say no to that, well, they're self-refuting because they're telling you that they're willing to follow the evidence. And then you say to them, okay, well, if enough evidence was given to you to show that this is actually true, would you believe it? And then they say no. So, like for example, this is something you see from guys like Dawkins, Richard Dawkins, and other atheists as well, who have basically they've constructed um, they've constructed something where it's actually impossible for someone to show them Christianity was true. So, for example, he would say things like, even if there is a sign in heaven that said my name, that God is true, and to believe in him, he would say that he would think that he'd be hallucinating, or there was aliens and stuff like that. And so,
No,
in
but
other words, what he's saying is, what he
Anthony,
says is,
Anthony, I'm gonna stop you here for a moment, right? I think that's a very different thing, right? I mean, how would someone tell the difference between having a real hallucination versus, versus really seeing it or really feeling it, basically?
Yeah, so that would have
What is so? Here, let me pose my question a little bit more, clearly.
Hello.
Why? Uh, hey, Vakas, hold on. Can you just? I'll get you in Islamic
No,
Sword,
no.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll get you in.
actually,
Let me
no, no.
just pose
Actually,
my thought.
I just
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So why I'm saying that is basically, if there was an evidence that would convince me, then I would get convinced. But this evidence that something was written in the heaven and then it said, "I'm God," and Philo, you have to believe me or whatever, right? Why? How would a person differentiate between it being a delusion or hallucination versus it being really true?
yeah, so that
What
wasn't my
what epistemic justification do I have to believe that? Basically,
so
is the
I would never
question.
use this. I would never use this as an argument. What the reason why I'm bringing this up though is because if you listen to this interview with Dawkins, he makes this he puts himself in a box where it would be impossible for someone to prove Christianity to be true to him because no matter what evidence would be brought to him, he'd always go to something else as another conclusion. So no matter how much the evidence pointed toward Christianity, he would always come up with something else to say that it's not true. And the reason why he does that is because even if it was true, he doesn't want to believe it. He wouldn't believe it. So that's the only reason why I brought that up. That wasn't my argument, though. I'm not arguing like that. I just wanted to see that if there was enough evidence given to you or something, or if Christianity was true in your own mind, hypothetically speaking, if Christianity was true, would you believe it? That's all that I wanted to know.
Madan, you dozed
I
off, it
think
seems, right?
Philo,
Martin,
the question is, it depends on the hallucination, like a description of the hallucination you had. So
Okay.
I guess that
Hello.
was
Madan, can you hear
the
us?
next question.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you. I can hear you. No,
Or
I
did
had
you doze off or what?
Philosapiens.
All right, hold on, hold on. Madan, let Islamic Sword. Roman, I'll let you in. Let Islamic
I'll be
Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Okay. I'll be back within an hour, but there is my some question when we have to speak. So first of all, I want to know that do you believe on hellfire? Yeah, that's the important question, because if you want us to save you from hellfire, then that's very important. That what's your thinking about hellfire?
No,
If you
see, this is a
doesn't care,
rhetorical.
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. First of all, complete myself.
Your question is over,
Okay,
and we
so
all
the
understood
second,
your question.
no, 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 no. I have another question. Two questions basically. The second question is actually that do you believe on rationality, or do you think what do you think about justice? Do you think that justice is completed in this in our world? So that these are the two major questions. I hope you will give me the answer. When I will back, I will be after. I have an urgent piece of work, so I have to go. After an hour, I will join back, and then I want to know that what do you think about these questions? What's the answer? I want to listen from you. Then we will talk
Sure.
further on.
Uh,
Okay.
okay,
Okay. Bye bye.
we'll
Okay.
talk about your
Goodbye, bro.
questions, but I can't promise that we are going to be up for that long, Islamic Sword. But yeah, if we get a chance, we'll talk about it. Madan, yes.
no, no. I had a phone call to go to first, and when the I think the what's his name, C whatever his name
Sea
was
time, sea time.
talking, I
Mm.
C time. I just I
You took
I
that
just kind of,
opportunity to, yeah,
yeah, it
finish that
kind of,
phone call, right? Okay.
yeah. Uh,
All right.
but
Anthony is there. Anthony, before we continue, I think let Roman little uh, get in. Sorry, I think you had to wait a long time, Roman.
Yeah. No. No worries. No worries. What's I was just wondering what's the topic? Like,
So
what are we talking
we
about?
have
I
this
was trying to follow.
open stream, convince us, save us from hellfire, and we are basically. I don't know if how much you have read our channel page, basically about page, but we are a group of atheists, ex-Muslims, and the title says "Convince us, save us from hellfire," and basically that includes Islam, Christianity. I think Judaism doesn't have a concept of hellfire, hell. So I think those Hinduism and Judaism are just there for anybody to join in and convince
Okay.
convince us on their worldview, basically.
So you guys said ex-Muslims. Like you guys are like were real Muslims practicing praying 5 times a day, uh,
We have
fasting from Ramadan.
right. We are a group of ex-Muslims.
Yes,
Madan is
yes.
one, right?
Yes, real Muslim practicing 5 times a day, so on and so forth. As much as you can describe anyone who is under the age of 22 or 23 as being a real Muslim practicing.
See, when you
No.
say real Muslim, that's a
I just
very
cause I mean like cause
yeah.
some people are I mean I say real Muslim as in like as no offense, but some people are Muslim by name, same way people are Christian by name. They say they're but they're not practicing in the sense. You
Yeah,
know what I
That
mean?
that happens with everywhere, right? I mean, you can have a Muslim name, you can practice, 5 prayers a day.
Yeah,
You'll get a huge variety of Muslims. You'll find Muslims who will just pray, like, Jummah prayers, that is the Friday prayers. Then you'll find
yeah,
some who will just keep, Eid namaz and all those things. So
yeah.
it's a huge strata, basically, right? And it, yeah, I mean, I won't even go there, but go ahead, shoot your question.
Because I don't meet a lot of ex-Muslims, so I was wondering what made you leave Islam.
I think I explained that while you were on, and I explained it to Anthony. So if it's just, I, I became atheist way long back, basically.
Yeah,
And for me, it was prayers that didn't work, basically, right? And I
yeah,
realized that the prayers have the same rate of working as your skill level, probably,
yeah.
or chance, pretty much. And that
Okay,
was the fundamental
so
reason.
yeah,
And
let
then
me
later
answer.
okay.
on,
Well,
yeah.
I'll go ahead then. Like me myself, I'm a Christian.
Hmm.
I I believe like everyone has their own type of faith or religion. You know, like even by name, if you're a Christian or a Muslim, like you still do your own thing, but you got to put your faith in someone. Muslims, you put your faith in Muhammad, and Christians put their faith in Jesus. And I feel like if we're gonna put our faith in anything material in this world that can like relate us to God, because we know we're pretty much opposite from God, we're far from God. I choose to put that my faith in Jesus as opposed to anybody else who lives on this earth and teach whatever they're teaching.
Right, right. Martin, you wanted to add something. Please jump in.
Yeah. So I don't think there's one like single reason for me to leave Islam or something like that. It's first of all, it's more of a gradual transformation over time, over decades, right? It's more of a comprehensive examination as far as that can be with limited capacities and sources and knowledge um, over time. So it's not a single thing, although there were single moments that kind of help you move from one stage to another stage. But, I'm a stronger atheist today than I was 10 years ago. And that's probably because of just a combination of very many different arguments that has been academically it's mainly academic literature for me over time, and this encompassed various different type of kind of arguments from natural theology, which is generic arguments for God's existence of a modern day sort of conception of God. When I say modern day, is how most kind of religions define God as this kind of personal being with powerful traits of infinite traits, and many of those arguments for God's existence, from like ranging from the fine tuning argument to Kalam cosmological argument, have effective rebuttals, if not counter arguments in favor of naturalism. So it's more like a m- uh, more like a realization that naturalism is a better theory to explain the world. And again, this is not a preference. It's not aesthetically necessarily pleasing. It's not necessarily the most satisfying explanation in terms of subjective feelings, but it's more of
But
an
the
objective
right
account.
one, rather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of the objective account. So it can naturalism can explain, for example, why there is the world. Naturalism can explain, can better
The
defend why
evil
there's
that you perceive, basically, right? Yeah.
yeah. There's a naturalism can answer, let's say, the fine tuning argument or the Kalam cosmological argument just as good, if not better. It's a more I would say a simpler theory.
Simpler explanation
Yeah,
in a sense.
and there's
Yeah.
and I'm using the word simple in a very specific sense, and parsimonious, etc. And yeah, so it's like a kind of a tour de force across all these types of different types of arguments, and so therefore I lean in the direction of naturalism, and therefore also I think therefore it's unlikely that a disembodied personal mind exists as depicted in the various many different religions, or the pantheisms or panentheisms, as the former guest who was here talked about, this kind of unity god, or
Yeah, yeah. The
one god,
unity
oneness
of
of
essence,
yeah,
basically. Unity of
yeah,
essence, in a
which
sense.
which
Yeah.
I, which I don't know what he necessarily even meant, if you like thought about it
No,
for a while.
there is a thought, Madan. There is a
Mm,
thought in Sufi Islam, a
yeah,
similar thought, basically, which is, I think the Sufi Islam, as this guy himself said, that Sufi Islam got this idea from Advait Vedantis, basically, and this Advait thought was with the Hindus since 10th century or so. But yeah, whatever the case may be, I think
yeah,
that he wasn't really able to explain what it really meant. Basically, it's a confuse. It seemed to me,
mm.
at least, it's a confusing thought, and there are so many things that
I
he
think he
couldn't
could have. Yeah,
square
I
out.
think he could have.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he could have explained it better. Maybe I think he
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
what I'm thinking as well.
right,
Probably,
because
maybe.
I could think of ways to make sense of what he's saying, but
Yeah.
uh
Arguing from the point
yeah,
that hello.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was arguing from the point that you guys believed in a god, but so okay, yeah. So I kind of forgot you're atheist. I got into the whole Muslim Christian debate, but okay. So you're saying the argument for God. You think there's just no God at all, like evolution, Darwin theory type of thing, like.
I see. I think there is no God is a very strong claim. So I think I was talking to Anthony as well earlier on this, and I said my credence level for a belief in a theistic God is comparatively low. So I would say, 80 to 90%. I would say I don't think there is a God of a theistic kind, which means any Abrahamic god or Hindu gods, or Mayan or Greek or the Romans or the Sumerians or the Mesopotamians or the Aztec gods or the Aborigine gods or whatever you may have, right?
Yeah.
I don't think those kind of gods exist. Basically, brainchild of human imagination, basically, who wanted to square, you know, the things that they saw around themselves or the sufferings that they went through, and then they invented those kind of things to make them feel better, or whatever their reasons may have been, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a deistic kind of a god, then my credence is slightly low, slightly higher, in a sense, basically, that uh, it's still a slight bit more likely, but not as much, basically, right? Because again, what kind of creator are we talking? So now we are stranded in talking about definitions. What are the attributes, right? It's just a creating entity, and it's like kind of it's been Spinozan god, or what kind of a god it is, basically, right? And then from some kind of creative force, then maybe I can say yes, probably that's a possibility, right? I mean, that's a very high possibility. Single necessary existent probably is Yeah, I would say yes. Probably it does exist. Maybe a very high level of confidence. Then I can say, or maybe there are panoply of those kind of single necessary existences. Pretty much, right?
Bruh, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Madin may have a different take than mine. You know, our credence is Madin is a stronger atheist than I am. Pretty much. Yeah, whenever I talk about myself, I talk about myself as more of an agnostic, leaning towards
Yeah.
atheism, basically.
But there's so many arguments for a God being out there, like a creating God,
Yeah,
a God
I
that's
think
personal.
they simply don't work. Most of them don't work, and then their credence level. I mean, you have to really, be a little gullible, in my opinion. So please don't take it wrong. Basically, it's not. I hope it's not demeaning, but
Well,
you have
at
to
the end of the
really
day,
be
if
a
you do
little
believe in a
gullible to believe
deistic
in those
God,
kind of evidences,
because
right?
I feel like you do believe in a God, like in something out there. If you do believe in a deistic God, then it has to be omnipotent, all powerful, all knowing, like because it can create. It comes, and so if it created the Earth, it created the universe. You know what I mean? So this is God we're talking about.
Yeah, but I don't think he believes in a deistic God.
You just said there's something out there, like a
No,
deist.
he said necessary existence. I don't think you should have said that, Philo, by the way, because it's confusing for people.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to be completely clear, but yeah, yeah, I don't believe in
All right,
any
but shoot,
theistic God.
take care.
I
I
don't
gotta
believe in
bounce. I'm
it.
gonna hit the gym, but yeah, keep talking about it. Just know there's a God out there, and Jesus loves you. Ooh, the valley.
What was that?
I don't know. I don't know why he said at the end.
Yeah, I thought the conversation was going really fine.
No, I don't think he said anything bad. Did he say anything bad? I think he just represented his state. Anthony would know better.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't even know who the guy is, so I have no. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know what he
I have
said
no
and
idea.
just dropped off without
I
saying
have no
bye
idea
or
what the
whatever,
last
right?
thing that he said.
Anyways, yeah,
He
doesn't
said
matter.
bye. He said bye. He said, I need
Oh,
to go.
he did say
Bye.
okay, bye, bye. Have to.
He said,
Okay,
and
okay.
then he
I
said,
didn't hear.
he said Jesus loves you, and then he said,
Jesus loves you.
then he
Okay,
said
okay.
something. I don't know what he said, but I took it as like a kind of like a street
A DU
slang, maybe,
kind of a thing. A DU kind
maybe,
of a yeah,
maybe, yeah,
maybe. Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, my bad. I couldn't understand. Yeah. All right, Anthony, you have something for us then. All right, present. What
The
is your
thing is,
best argument for?
yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
Martin. Go ahead.
yeah, no. The thing is, I think we were talking about something previously, morality, and I think perhaps we should. I don't know if we can now.
Resume
It's
that. Yeah,
Go
resume
ahead.
that.
Yeah, go whatever you wanna. Yeah, whatever you wanna. Whatever you
yeah,
got, Hayden.
because I mean, we started talking about it, and then it kind of got interfered with lots of heads saying their own points. And next thing you know, you've got an argument for Hinduism, and you've got a argument for mind body kind of what was it, outer body experiences by the other guy, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and then you've got a
Your
Buddhist
name is pronounced Maiden or Madin. I just want to make sure I'm
Madin, yeah, Mahdin,
Madin.
yes,
Madin.
yes.
Okay, Madin.
Maiden, I think Maiden's like a WWE wrestler, isn't he, or something? I don't
If I
know.
accidentally say that, forgive me.
Yeah, or something out of Mortal Kombat. Maiden.
Yeah, if you want to
But
go, back to the, what we were talking about last time, go ahead. Uh, and I'll just, respond to whatever you got.
yeah, I think that the last thing that we were talking about was kind of circulating around the Euthyphro dilemma, maybe. I think, and I think you were saying that it's not non-circular because you have an independent kind of route to getting to the getting to that point or something like that, which we kind of disagree on. I would like to hear what you mean by independent route. That's the first thing. The second thing was that um, as the Euthyphro dilemma shows, that ontologically it cannot be the case, and this stems from Plato a very long time ago, and And I think the vast majority of consensus now in the philosophy of religion has shifted to the view of I think theists have deployed something like the modified divine command theory, which they, like yourself, Anthony, talks about that morality. The reason God's commands are good is because of God's character, right? It's not merely that he arbitrarily just wakes up one morning. Again, this is fictitious language. Obviously, God doesn't wake up in the morning, but arbitrarily just decides, flips a coin, or just based on his whims and desires, just says rape is bad. And he could have commanded equally well, rape is good. And he could have commanded equally well, torture is good and moral, and etc. He couldn't have done those things. Most philosophers, most theist philosophers like William Lane Craig, William Alston, etc., etc., Richard Swinburne hold on to the view of modified divine command theory, in which it's not merely the God's commands that makes morality real, or God commands morality into existence arbitrarily, and in which case nothing is moral other than what he says, just willy-nilly, right? It's not arbitrary in that sense. It's rather the reason that God's command is morally good is because it's consistent with his moral nature, his character. And what is that moral nature? Well, it's his attributes, which is like he's benevolent, he's merciful, he's compassionate, he's kind, he's just, and these are the things that makes it moral, right? But what the objection, so that's called modified divine command theory, which you probably know about. And I'm just articulating like that for just everybody in the audience as well. But what atheists have responded to, and so on to that, and we've not really heard too much of a response in the philosophical literature, is that when you start saying that the reason that something is good is because of God's character, right? You've just taken the step back one more to another level. Then the question becomes, why are those things goodness producing good? Why is it the case that God possessing the attribute of benevolence makes his commands good? Right? Now, is it because God possessing those characteristics makes it good? Right? So in which case, again, you've got the Euthyphro dilemma again coming into it. So had God, now you responded to this last time by saying that God couldn't even have any other. It's not even possible. Correct. Right? That is your viewpoint. But in philosophy, when we say possible, we don't literally mean physically possible or metaphysically possible. We in the sense, that's not the right language. We don't say that
it's not possible in any other worlds either.
Yeah, right. So that is the way that I'm using it. I'm saying it is logically possible. I agree with you. You may not call it God. You may not want to call it God then, but it is logically. For example, it's logically possible that you have no arms in another world, right? It's logically possible. It's logically possible that trees are green, are blue in another world, right?
So let me just stop you for 1 second. Just go in a quick second, just to put add something in there. Yeah. So here's the thing, right? If you're gonna make an argument here to me, this will just help you to understand my position. If you're to make an argument from this point where we're at in this discussion, it won't touch my worldview. The reason being is because God, the God in whom I believe, and who I believe is the only God, he says that he cannot change. So the way in which God reveals to himself through his word, it's not possible that he could be any different in terms of his character or who he is in any different world. You seeing what I'm saying? So for me to even engage in that argument would be going outside of my worldview.
Sure, but what we mean by logically possible is very similar to like conceptually possible, right? We're not saying
not even conceptually possible.
Right.
In my worldview, it's not even conceptually possible, logically possible. It's not possible for God to change who he is by nature.
Right. I get it. So it's almost like an analytical truth. So it's a necessary truth.
But
so let me hold on.
Right, a necessary truth. I think that would be a correct way to say it.
Right. Okay, so let's not call it God then. That's all you have to do, kind of, to move away from that. Because let's
Well,
Anthony,
that's
you
what you have
can.
to do, but that's not what I'm gonna do. I mean,
Sure,
again,
sure, sure, sure. Anthony, you can, for example, hypothetically imagine yourself without arms in another world, right?
yeah, that would be no problem,
Okay.
but I can change. I'm finite. So it's no problem for me to
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
perceive
Just give me one
something
second.
different. Yeah.
Just give me 1 second. The fact that you can imagine yourself without arms shows that it's logically possible.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, that's what all logical possible conceivability. This is what David Hume talked about in term. It's the conceivability
Yeah, the
criterion.
conceivability argument.
That's the
I know the
that's
argument, but
Yeah,
I
can you
disagree
conceive
with.
now? Yeah, yeah. Can you conceive now everything about God, just that he's different in his? So you may not want to call that God. What I'm saying is, can you imagine an omnipotent but omni-malevolent being? It's conceivable. So there you go. It's, you can't say it's a contradiction like a square triangle. I can't conceive a square triangle, but I can conceive a omni-benevolent and omnipotent being.
right.
That's
I
all I
think
mean.
Madin, what
Yeah.
Anthony has done is taken a huge burden of proof and hasn't provided any evidence whatsoever for it,
Well, I
basically.
haven't even responded to anything, so that's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even
No,
fair
no,
to
I'm just
say.
asking.
That's not
No,
even
no.
fair to say, man.
Even in the
Well,
last
that's
stream you
not
had.
even fair to say. Don't do that. That's not fair to say at all.
Okay,
Because
let's go for
been
it.
letting
Sorry,
him. I just
my
been letting
mistake. My
Philo
bad.
speak.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
bad.
I've been
Anthony
letting
Let's
respond
go
Philo
for
because
it.
speak.
Yeah, let's go
let
for
We're
it.
not
Anthony
even
respond.
we're not even
Yes.
arguing with each other. We're just
Yeah, yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure some things out. So that's really
Yes.
Yeah,
not fair to
let's
say.
go
But
for it. Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm trying to say is this: you can bring up all of these arguments that you want, Madin, but I can't go against my worldview because I believe that this is true. I believe that this is true. What I believe. So if
Yeah.
you tell me to think of worlds in which God is different than how he is, no, that's simply false because God says he doesn't change. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if you want to raise an argument, you
So
have to do what's called an
yeah,
internal critique of my
yeah,
worldview.
Yeah,
You have to
then I
internally
think,
critique
Anthony, we
me.
shouldn't be having a discussion at all,
yeah.
basically, right?
Because
I think
yeah,
so,
yeah,
really honestly.
No,
yeah.
what do you?
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's a futile
Philo.
discussion,
Just
basically.
Philo, just wait for a second. We're getting through things here.
We are
He's the one
we are
who's
not gonna
asking
get
me questions.
anywhere, Anthony, with you, right? You
I
have
don't
a
I don't know,
worldview
Philo. I
which
don't know
is
why you're being so
unsubstantiated,
hostile.
which cannot be
Me and
substantiated.
him are getting through things. We're having a good
yeah, yeah.
conversation.
No, no, yeah, I think we are having a good conversation.
Yeah,
I understand what you're trying to say. You're saying you because you believe in the fact that God cannot change, so you can't even entertain the possibility. Now, but that what I would
right.
object to regarding that, what I have a difficulty with that is that obviously that's your belief, right? But what if I had a belief like I can't even entertain the possibility of Anthony having two arms in a possible world? But now that's my belief, right? But if I can so what would tackle that belief? What would refute it? I think what would refute that belief is if I can conceive, right? My initial belief that Anthony cannot have no arms in a one possible world will be refuted by if I can conceive of a world where Anthony doesn't have two arms, in which case my initial belief will be refuted. So all I'm saying is that if you can imagine an omnipotent being, but he doesn't possess the characteristics of omnibenevolence, and that's perfectly logically coherent and conceivable and imaginable, wouldn't that serve as a refutation to your initial belief?
No, because again, we have two different starting points. So in order to raise an argument against my worldview, and this would be the same thing that I would do for you as well. So now if you have to, well, let me say this first. So you would have to provide an internal critique of my worldview. That means that you have to hypothetically grant what I believe and show an internal inconsistency. So for example,
That's why I'm saying,
when that
Martin, it's a futile exercise to
no,
talk
it's
to him.
not. No, it's not. No, it's
It is,
not.
it is,
Listen,
because
listen. I was gonna give you an
Anthony,
example,
you are
Philo.
saying you
Philo.
have a 2 + 2 = 5. There is no
No,
argument to be
Philo.
had.
No, Philo. See, you're not.
Right.
Here's the problem. You're
I'm
not
not going to
listening.
entertain your
You're
arguments,
not listening.
Anthony.
You
It's
don't know
as
what you're
simple
talking
as
about.
that.
Listen, listen.
Your
Just
argument
listen.
is akin to
Okay.
somebody
Well,
who says,
I,
you heard of that case where that lady said, God told me to kill my children. And she
no,
went and did
Philo. You don't
exactly
know what
that.
you're talking
You
about.
are exactly
Stop
like
straw
her.
manning people.
You are
Let me
exactly
speak.
like her.
You
And
don't
that's
even
about it.
understand the
No argument to
conversation
be
that
had.
me and Madine are having. You actually don't
No,
even understand the
I'm,
conversation we're having. So
I'm,
what do I explain? What I would say
it
to
is
tell
our
you is go
channel.
study
We are not going to
philosophy.
have an
Go
argument
study
here.
philosophy. Go study philosophy,
No,
and you will actually be able to entertain an adult conversation.
you don't even
Let me
understand
speak.
philosophy, man. What are you talking
I
about?
don't, You don't. Me and
You have
Madin
you
are
have
actually
you
having a
have
good
you have a
conversation,
worldview
and
where there's
you are getting in it for no
there is
reason. Just
no
listen. Let me speak
you
for a
don't
second.
have any
What
room
does it
for
mean
even
that an internal
understanding
critique?
somebody else's
Here's what an
argument, right?
internal critique is. You want to hear an internal critique? That Hindu that came up there before, who was saying that all is one, I was doing an internal critique of his worldview. I was hypothetically granting that everything was one. So if everything is one, how are you also saying that there's diversity? That's an internal critique. That's what he needs to do to my position. It's not that we're not gonna go in circles and not be able to interact. We
Martin,
are,
I'll leave
but
it to you whether you want to continue or up to you.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm not trying to have a combative argument here. I'm not
yeah,
ready
me
to.
neither. Me
No,
neither.
I'm not having competitive argument as well, but I'm saying
You
it's
are,
gonna be a
Philo.
futile exercise, basically. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be a waste of time.
You just don't understand how internal critiques of someone's worldview is. So, for
No,
example,
I'm
if I'm
all
sitting in a house, if
somebody
I'm
has
sitting
to
in a
be
house,
willing to accept that there's a possibility of
no,
them
it's a
getting wrong, right?
hypothetically grant. It's a
So
hypothetical for the
let
sake
me
of
ask you,
refuting what I believe.
Anthony, let me ask you this thing. Is it a possibility that you could be wrong?
No, I don't believe that I can be wrong
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
because
Madin. Then it's a futile exercise.
that's it's not a futile exercise. Okay. First of all, I'm on here to show you why Christianity is true. That's number one. And number two, the one who knows all things has revealed something to me. Okay. If the one you can't know anything unless the one who knows everything has revealed it to you, because there can always be a possibility that you're wrong. So if there's let's say 5,000 truth values in this world and you know 499, that one could refute everything that you believe is true. So if the one who knows all things has communicated truth to you, you can be sure that you know what is true.
Madin, you want to go ahead?
So let me just then, just for the audience sake, talk about like the objections to the modified divine command theory very quickly, because maybe Anthony's right in the sense that I can't he just doesn't believe it's possible, and therefore I'm not going to have any inroads with that at all, right? But what I'll say is that I've not heard that sort of objection before. I would say from any like philosopher though, like even like
I could point you to philosophers off the top of my head.
right, like okay, but I've not like come across, at least to the Euthyphro dilemma. You know, the Euthyphro dilemma. Nobody, no, I've not heard any philosopher say something like they can't even conceive of the possibility of an evil sort of God, right? Because remember the reason so the reason the thought experiment comes along is not saying that that thing is real, is just to demonstrate the plausibility of a moral ontology that rests on God's character, right? So let me just go with it for now. You can object later to it.
Go ahead. Yep.
Right. So the idea is, the reason we think about the hypothetical of is to demonstrate that in fact the conclusion would be, in fact, it cannot be the case that God, that the mere existence of those attributes laying with God is what makes it moral. Rather, it's those characteristics what makes God moral, right? So there's a philosopher who talks about it in the following sense. So if the reason God's commands are moral is because God's character, if you know, then the Euthyphro dilemma manifests once more, and that's two horns, right? Is that is God, what God commands good simply because he says so? In which case, had he said, you know, rape is good, rape will become good? Or is it because rape really is bad and charity really is good, right? And now, so what philosophers did then, theist philosophers realized that this is arbitrary, because in this kind of moral theory, the reason things are morally good or bad is simply because God says so. And there's no foundation to it. It's like subjective, and this is called theological voluntarism, right? So well, atheists are criticized for holding subjective or relativistic morality. Anybody can just make anything up. It's arbitrary to each one's personal feelings and so on. But in this kind of moral theory, right, this is the initial kind of divine command theory. In this moral theory where the reason things are good or bad is because God said so, it's also subjective. It's subjective to God's feelings and whims, right?
Okay,
God
so
does.
let's take this step by step. So
No,
we
no.
can interact.
Let me just finish.
Okay,
Let me just
go ahead. Yep,
finish this.
go ahead. No problem.
Finish off this thought. So it's also subjective to God because God simply says rape is wrong. It's not because rape is wrong. It's because God simply said rape is wrong. So that's just subjective. God could have simply also said rape is good, and then it would have been good, and it's just entirely arbitrary. So in order to kind of attack the atheist by saying the atheist holds arbitrary kind of moralities, like a psychopath, God becomes this kind of arbitrary moral lawgiver, right? But then the theists came along in like the philosophical literature said, no, 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 no. God isn't. God is not just saying things arbitrarily. It's because God's nature constrains him and prevents him from saying something like rape is good. God can never say rape is good. God will never say it because rape, it really is the case rape isn't good. But then the atheist would be saying then that's because rape in itself cannot be good. Rape by definition, or rape in its very nature, is a bad thing. Haha, atheist, we got you there. God can't say it because rape is objectively wrong or something like that. And then
All
the
right,
theist
so
goes, no. It's not because of that. It's because it's within God's nature. God's nature is such that he is benevolent, and therefore a benevolent being will never make it so that rape is good. Rape is bad, right? Sorry, rape is good. A benevolent being can never make it so that rape is good. Benevolent being, but it's because it's consistent with his nature. But this is where we come in, where I come in now in the new, and where all
right.
the atheist philosophers come in. This is the stage. Now, is rape all right? So you've seated morality into God's nature. It's no longer arbitrary whims. It's
Right.
because of benevolence. It's
Yep.
character, right? But wait a minute. So God now commands good things because of God's benevolence,
Sure.
right? So does God make? So when God says something, it's good. Now, if you think about what goodness means, there's no definition to goodness. It's just God is good. If you say God is good, what do we mean by that?
It's
Right?
a gobbledygook,
Yeah.
basically.
So no,
Yeah.
it's not
The
gobbledygook. So
gobbledygook.
the
Just
problem with saying it's gobbledygook is this, and I think that when you say that, you have your Muslim apologetics in mind, because Islam said God is nothing like in creation. So when it says like Allah has a right hand, well, what does that mean that he has a right hand if Allah is like nothing in
we're
creation?
veering off. No, I'm not.
Oh,
This is not, that was not the points that I was making. I was
no,
not
no, I
talking
know,
about.
not you. I know, Madin. I'm not talking about you yet. I'm addressing what Philo said because he said gobbledygook. So here's the thing: God is good by nature, and he communicates to us what good is. So we know what that good is because he's communicated it to us.
Yes.
So when God says, for example, thou shalt not steal, it is good to not steal because he's told us that. He's communicated to us. So now I would agree
No,
with what you're
Anthony,
saying.
your
Hold on,
whole
Philo,
argument
one
then
second.
hinges
One
on
second,
the
Philo.
communication.
Let me
How
just
do you
finish.
know that can't
Philo,
be a liar, God?
dude,
That's the
I
problem.
can't stay on here. I can't
It's
stay
not
on
in
here.
your
I can't stay on here
the
if
thing that you think is internally consistent is not internally consistent, right?
okay,
That's the
Maiden.
problem.
I'm sorry, Philo. I can't stay on here if you don't let me talk. I let Madin speak a
I'm showing
lot.
a problem that you don't think is a problem,
No, you're not
basically.
letting me speak, dude. I'm gonna get off because I have things I gotta do, and if you're just gonna interrupt me every second, it's just a waste of my
Please
time.
be my guest.
If me, you know that you're wrong, and so that's why you keep cutting me off.
No,
Just let me speak. So let
exposing
me
your problem,
speak.
basically.
Let me speak. Madin just goes on these long tangents, which are fine, but let me at least respond. Don't you think that's a respectful thing to do as the host? Right?
Go ahead,
Okay.
say.
Thank you. Thank you. And you get me off track too. So here's what I'm saying. The God who is good by nature and cannot change has revealed to us what good is. Okay. And so if he's revealed to us what good is, we're not left with gobbledygook. We don't know what it means. He's revealed to us what that means, that he is good. It's
Yeah.
that
No.
simple. So Madin, what
No.
would you say to that?
And I never said gobbledygook, but it's a stage. It's a stage of the philosophical kind of dialogue in which I'm trying to illustrate that it would be gobbledygook had it not been for certain factors and properties. So if you just say God is good and just leave it there, it will be gobbledygook, right?
But if he's revealed to you what that means,
I know,
then
that's
it
what I'm
wouldn't be
saying.
gobbledygook.
Hold on, Anthony, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So goodness is would be an empty definition if you just simply said God is good and then not had any other properties assigned to that, what that meant, right? It will just be like saying God is blah blah blah. What does good mean? Right? So what philosophers did then was then seat it back to his nature and say goodness is benevolence, right? But then you kind of get a bit better picture. Now, here's kind of where what I was kind of left off. Is the fact that God contains the property of goodness what makes benevolence good, or is benevolence what makes God good? Right?
It's everything that God is. So God
Right.
is his attributes. I believe in divine simplicity. I'm sure you're
Right.
familiar with that terminology. Are you familiar with divine simplicity?
Yes.
Okay, so God is his attributes. He is his attributes.
Right.
So there's nothing that's within God that's not who he is. There's no accidents.
Yeah.
So God is by nature good. That means that
why?
all his attributes are good because that's who he is.
So what does goodness mean?
Goodness means, now we know what goodness means because he's revealed to us what it means. So what good means then is to love your neighbor, to love God, to worship God, to be kind to other people. These are all things that are good, and we know what this means because the God who is himself good has revealed it to us. Go ahead.
Right. So goodness is love.
What love is something that is good.
Love and a bunch of other things.
Yes. The opposite of love could not be good.
Correct. So, well, no, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Hate can be good depending on what it is that you're hating.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
All things being equal. So this is where you and I separate, right? The reason we think that God commands morally good things is because of those properties, not because God happens to contain those properties by accident. Like if he contained different properties, those won't become good. He has to contain benevolence. This is my view, by the way. I'm not saying this is your view.
Gotcha.
But I'm trying to say that it should be your view, maybe, because that's why I think if he contained the property of malevolence, that wouldn't be good. He has to contain the property of benevolence, which means that it's benevolence what makes God good, and not merely the fact that he coincidentally has the property of benevolence. That had he had the property of malevolence, God would also still be good, which shows that the moral theory works independently to any sort of mind or anything. It's more to do with those attributes, right?
No. So the problem with what you're saying though is back to what I said earlier. God cannot change. He is who he is. That's what the Bible tells us.
Yeah.
Exodus 3:14. I am who I am. I am the being. And in Malachi 3:6, it tells us that God does not change. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So God does not change. So he can't change who he is.
Right. So we go basically back to differences in how we think about these things, which is that you seem to think that the mere fact that you can conceive of a God of all the same characteristics of the God with just one property being different, which is malevolence. And if you can think of that, then by definition, it's logically possible. And
I don't agree with that. I think that you're failed to say that anything that you can conceive of is possible. I don't think that.
Yeah. Okay. So by possible we don't mean can exist in the world. By possible we don't mean technologically possible. By possible we don't mean probably. Yeah, we just mean logically possible.
That. Yeah.
Pink fairies. Yeah, I can imagine a pink. I can imagine the color pink, and I can imagine a fairy, whatever that is, like something out of Peter Pan. Yeah, I can imagine it pink. That's all it means. Now, is that probable? No. Is that realistic? No. Is that insane? Probably. But what I mean is that it's conceptually I can conceive of it, and therefore I can imagine of a hypothetical world. Can you not even imagine a hypothetical world where there is an omnipotent being which is malevolent? Of course you can. And if you can do that, then you can hypothetically consider the possibility whether or not that being would be good. Would that being be good?
So here's the thing. Number one, I
Hmm.
don't agree with your criteria of saying if you can conceive of it, it's logically possible. I can conceive that 2 plus 2 equals 5. That doesn't mean that it's
But
logically
you can't
possible.
though.
So
You
I don't
can't.
agree with that
No,
premise,
no, you
number one.
can't. No, you can
No,
state. You can state with your
you can
mouth.
state it, but that
Equals
doesn't
five.
mean that it's logically possible.
Yes, exactly. But I'm saying, can
But
you?
here's
You
the
can't.
thing. Here's the other
No, no, no,
thing,
no,
though.
no.
Here's
Wait,
the
wait.
other
Until
thing.
let's hold you on
Go
to
ahead.
that. Let's hold
Okay.
you on to that. You
Well, I'm gonna
can't
let you talk a
conceive.
lot, and then you cut me off. So just be
Yeah,
aware
sorry,
of that.
sorry. Let me just.
No problem.
I
Go ahead.
apologize, but you can't
Yeah.
conceive 2 apples plus 2 apples equals 5 apples unless you give up mathematics. So it depends what you mean. But if you define it as
Boom. There you go. There you go.
yes,
That
yes,
just proved my point. You have to give up
right.
something. And that's the problem with your argument. You just refuted yourself this whole time.
So
Because
what are you
here's the
giving up? No,
thing.
no.
God,
Yeah,
here's the thing. God is the one who created all things.
yeah.
Okay. And laws of logic are a reflection of the mind of God. So in order for me to 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 conceive of God changing or being evil, right? I would then have to change something, like you just mentioned.
What are you
In
changing?
fact, I can't do that.
So I'm not
So I
saying
would have to
I'm not
change
saying okay. What you will have to change? What you will have to change is merely
you said the laws of mathematics. I'd have to
yeah.
change,
What are you
and I
changing in
would
the
have to
case of
change. I would
yeah?
have to change who God is, and I can't do that because God can't change. You see what I'm saying? So you just refuted your whole argument.
But that you can't. It's not like mathematics though. In
You're
the
right.
case of
You're right. Laws
in
of
the case of
mathematics are a reflection of the
yes,
mind of God.
what
God,
laws are
everything
you?
God does is
Yeah,
logical.
what
So
laws
if
are you changing? I don't understand what you mean. So with mathematics, obviously, I can suspend the laws of mathematics. So, for example, if I say 2 plus 2 equals 5, I might be uttering the same sentences, but I'm not. I'm not following the same mathematics, right? I'm just saying something, and I'm imagining 2 apples and 2 apples, and turning it into 5 apples. I can obviously conceive of that. I can
I
imagine two
think it's a
apples.
it's a change in axiom. Basically, it's
Yeah,
an
axioms,
axiomatic
exactly.
change, right?
Axiomatic change. What are you changing in the case of God? That's what I'm trying to say. Because
uh,
all I've
you're
done
changing his
is
nature, you're changing who he is.
right.
So
So it's just a
so if
cement.
So you have Anthony. You don't understand that you still have that epistemic problem. How do you
Yeah.
know all these characteristics are
because
true?
I told you
Because
he's
it's
revealed it to
again
us by
your
divine
problem is
revelation.
circularity, and that's what
No,
I
it's
have been telling you from the last stream as well. You are stranded with problems with circularity all over your theology, pretty much, right?
okay. I'm just gonna answer Madin because
Because
every
yeah,
time
go
you
ahead.
say something, Philo, you seem to we're having like a cordial conversation, but you seem to kind of want to up it a little bit, and I'm really not
No,
interested in that.
because I
I just
see your
we're
problem.
having a
You're not going
respectful
to agree to that.
conversation.
I understood
So
that very well
so
from the
what
very
Philo
beginning,
so what
and that's why I
Philo
don't want to engage here.
so what
I know
Philo
because your
number
problem
one
is
number one
epistemic.
number
You
one
understand
number
that
one
your
my
God has
argument
revealed truth to you, and then you're going to stick to it, and
number one,
that's
you
about it.
guys were the
And then
ones who
you
told me.
define God in the way that He has revealed to you. It's a circular problem.
Okay, first of all,
You can't
circular reasoning
justify.
is
You
not
can't
bad thing. When
epistemically
it comes to
justify
ultimate
your stance. Pretty much. That's what I'm
foundations,
saying.
when it comes to ultimate foundations, they're self-authenticating. Okay, it has to be that way. Laws of logic, you have to use logic in order
No,
to
laws of
prove
logic
logic. You have to
work.
use
That's
logic.
why we use them.
That's
You
circular.
understand that?
You use in order
Laws
to
of
prove
logic work
logic,
in
you have
real
to
world,
use
and that's why
logic.
we use them.
In order to prove logic, you have to
Your
use
your
logic.
God
In
your
order to
God
prove
doesn't
your
show
senses, you
anything.
have to use your
Your
senses.
theology
That's
doesn't show
circular.
anything that
That's
works.
circular.
You
That's
understand
circular.
that? That's the
God is
difference.
the ultimate foundation. Therefore,
No,
you
that's
can't
your
prove.
belief, man. That's your
Just
belief.
let. Okay, Maiden, I'm gonna go back
You're
to you
comparing
because he
two
just
very
likes to
different
argue.
things. Laws of logic work in this world on
Maiden,
a
Maiden,
second by second basis. You use them
Maiden,
right now.
take, Maiden,
Martin is
take down my Maiden, take down my information, and we can talk another time because he seems to just want to argue. We're having a good conversation, and I don't know why he has to do that.
all right.
So I don't know if you got my email or not, but because I think he left anyway. Oh, there he is. Maiden, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so before Philo jumped in and being aggressive for some reason, what I was saying to you is this: if laws of logic are a reflection of the mind of God, okay, and you're telling me that you'd have to change mathematical laws in order for me to conceive of 2 plus 2 equaling 5, what I was trying to say to you is that you refuted your argument because when you tell me that I have to, I can conceive of a God who's evil, right? I would have to then change who God is. And he's the ultimate foundation. And again, laws of logic are a reflection of his mind.
No, no. So right, I don't know what that means when you say. I don't. I'm not following you here at all.
Which
When
point?
you say why is the laws of logic all of a sudden brought up here?
Sorry,
In
what
this
was that
sense?
last point?
Why is the laws of logic? I'm not sure why the laws of logic is all of a sudden brought up here exactly. So
You brought them up. Oh, I'm sorry. Laws of mathematics. We said you said laws of mathematics. I'm sorry.
yeah,
You said
yeah.
laws of
I'm
mathematics.
talking about.
You're correct.
I was saying what's stopping you from thinking about God, or thinking about. You may not want to use the word God because some people think God by definition is good and by definition is benevolent, and therefore it's a necessary truth that you can't even imagine a God that is evil.
Correct.
Well, fine, don't do that then. Then think of a being. At this point, it's semantics, right? It's just what we're defining and describing as things as such. My point is, you can imagine, unless you're not a human being with an imagination, right? You can imagine a malevolent being that is all powerful, and that's all we're trying to ask you to imagine. And you can do that, right? You can't simply say that I believe that I can't imagine that, because you
I'm
can.
saying though that's illogical, is what I'm saying to you though. And you'd
It's
have to
not
change the
illogical,
laws
though.
of logic. You'd have to
You've
change
not
the laws
changed.
of logic.
You've not changed the laws of logic, though.
You would have to. I'm saying
How? For
because
example,
because
is
because God
Provide you a
because
justification for
because
it.
God is the
before you
only one
finish,
who's
listen,
all powerful.
before you finish, it's non-contradictory to think of a possible world. There's no. I agree that the laws of logic prevents me from thinking about a square triangle, but the laws of logic doesn't prevent me to think of an omnipotent, malevolent being. There's no incoherency there. Is there a contradiction?
Yes, there is.
What's the contradiction?
The contradiction is God is all powerful and he's the
No, I
only
didn't say
one, and no
God.
one is
I didn't
like
say
him.
God. I
It
didn't
doesn't
say
matter.
God.
Well,
I'm saying this.
I'm
I'm
saying
not
that
using the word God. I'm not using the word God. I'm saying, can you
that's what that would
imagine?
entail.
Can you imagine?
What would it entail?
Why
I'm
would it
telling you that
entail
that's
that?
an illogical, incoherent thing to conceive of. Just as a square circle, that's
Yeah,
incoherent to think of. That's what I'm trying
yeah,
to tell you.
yeah. Right. I know you're asserting it. Right. Why is that inconceivable? Because I can conceive of a mind. I can conceive it being evil or malevolent, like he hates everything. Yeah, or etc. I can conceive of that, and I can also conceive that it's all powerful.
Because, like you said, when I said to you, can you conceive of 2 plus 2 equaling 5? You said you'd have
Yeah.
to change laws of
What are you
mathematics in order
changing?
to
Yeah,
do
but
that.
what
And
I agree.
I'm saying
Yes.
to you that you would
Mhm.
have to change who
Yeah.
God is, and
I'm
that
not
is
changing.
inconceivable. But listen, you would have to change who God is because God
He,
told
he
us
didn't even
that
use the
I
term
didn't use
it
the
God,
doesn't
word
man.
God.
matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Anthony, can
matter.
you
It doesn't.
understand
I
that?
understand his argument. I know he hasn't
This
used
is
the
not
word
God.
God.
This
I
is
get it.
somebody else.
But he's
You don't
attributed
even
an
listen to
omni
what the
property.
argument is. Come on,
I
man.
Yeah.
heard the argument. He
Yes.
attributed an omni property to this evil being.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
Yes,
inconceivable and
not
illogical
God.
It's
because
not
Not God.
only
inconceivable.
God, but
Not
because
your
only
God.
God is the one who has omni properties. And so if God is the only one who has omni properties, if you're to try to conceive of a being who is not God but has an omni property, that's illogical and incoherent.
Right. So it seems as though you believe that God, the God that you believe in is the only God that can have only. I can't. I'm getting confused now.
Only omni
Yes.
being
Yeah.
can
But
exist.
that's
Basically, that's
can you,
the.
can you notice that that's nothing to do with the laws of contradiction? The laws of contradiction and conceivability has nothing to do with that, right?
Yes, it does, because the God who I'm proclaiming to you is
Mhm.
the one who all logic consists in. He is logical in all that he does, and laws of logic are a reflection of who he is. You see how I'm grounding the laws of logic in the one true God. And
No, I'm
that
not.
would
I'm
be
not
then my question to you. You're bringing up laws of logic. How do you
That's why I
justify the
said,
laws of
Madin,
logic?
it's a futile
yeah.
discussion because it's not gonna go anywhere,
It's
right?
not futile, but
It's a
Madin is not
it's
going
a
to be able to
it's a
answer these
it's a
questions.
it's a my way or highway. It's my way or no way, basically, right?
No,
I mean,
no,
you
it's
just can't
not.
even
Here's the
use
thing.
logic because he
I mean,
has
look,
he
look,
has
look,
a
Anthony,
paraconsistent
here's the
logic.
thing,
Anthony,
Madin, you're
Anthony,
using.
1 minute, Anthony.
Let me just
So
ask one question to you. Let me ask one
Anthony,
question to you.
before you proceed, anybody can describe something like this and make it internally consistent. Say the laws of logic by definition is nature, and therefore the laws of logic. It cannot be the case that there is a possible world where there isn't, the laws of logic or something like that. I mean, yeah, you can describe things like that, but even in that sort of system, all I've done is defined it such that I'm no longer permitted to conceive of a possible world where there isn't any laws of logic, that isn't
So
consistent with nature, atheistic nature. Can you see what I'm saying? You can play these kind of definitional games,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
no,
And
you couldn't play this game.
therefore,
You couldn't play
therefore,
this game, and the reason why you can't play
right,
this game is because in your worldview you can't justify laws of logic.
I just did, with just the way you
Okay,
have.
how can you?
That's what I'm saying.
Are you a naturalist?
No, that's what I'm saying. Look, no. I'm
No,
saying
I'm going to see if you can. So I can justify the laws of logic. Here would be my argument. If I got to come up here and present an argument to you, my argument for Christianity is because the Christian worldview provides the necessary preconditions for logic, for knowledge, for love, for free will, for objective morality. And so I believe that only the Christian worldview can provide the necessary preconditions for these things. Your worldview can't do that. So that's why I'm asking you now, are you a naturalist?
But that's because for some reason, you've not noticed that you've just made your worldview, you built into your worldview a view that doesn't allow the entertainment of any other contrary possibility.
It's you have covered your worldview with a brick wall, pretty much, or whatever,
and
a
that's why I'm
steel
telling
wall.
you have to do
You're saying
what you have to do. What you have to do is you have to do an internal critique of my worldview. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Any
so what that means is this. What that means
right,
is
any
this.
view, look. If you define into your view that your view is internally consistent, for example, you can just prevent any inconsistency by that sort of rule.
I think
It's just a bit of
Well,
a
not
charlatan,
necessarily though. Not
right?
necessarily.
One
Because
simple thing would
Yeah.
one age-old objection would contradict his worldview pretty much. See,
But
omnipotence
basically,
omnipotence
Anthony,
itself is problem, right?
yeah, Anthony, you're not
Because
doing.
the age-old thing saying, can your God create a stone heavy enough that he cannot lift it?
that's are you really going to bring that
That's
argument
a,
up?
that's
That's
a,
like
that's
first
a,
grader
that's
stuff.
a that's a
That's first grader
problem
stuff.
within
God
omnipotence,
can
basically.
do no, that's not a
That's
problem
a
because you
problem
just don't
within
understand.
omnipotence, because
No.
omnipotence cannot be had.
No, God can do everything that is logically possible, and that's what I've been trying to
Why
argue to this whole
is your
time.
God is your God restricted by logic, confined by
My
logic?
God is logic, and logic is a
Your God is
reflection of who
confined
He
by
is.
logic, you're saying, right?
Okay, Philo, I'm sorry,
You
but
don't
you need to
understand,
bring up
man.
your
One simple argument
IQ
just
a little bit.
destroyed your worldview,
I
pretty much,
don't.
right?
Madin actually is able to converse, but you need to go back to hitting the books.
You don't understand, man. You need to go back and read logic, probably.
Okay, so here it
All
is.
right.
Okay, Philo, question for you: can you justify the laws of logic?
No, I don't need to.
Oh,
You
you don't
said
need to.
find an
Okay, good night.
inconsistency
I
in my
won. There
worldview.
you go.
I just showed
I
one.
don't need to. Okay, so that's arbitrary. You're being arbitrary now, so I can be arbitrary as well.
You 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 just told me show us one inconsistency, and I just showed you one, right? Your
And I just
God is
answered to you that
confined by logic, laws of logic,
God
right?
can do
And the
everything that is
omnipotence
logically
problem,
possible
the
because
problem
God.
it's not with the logic, it's the problem with omnipotence, because omnipotence has this problem.
No, it doesn't, dude. This is Philo, and I don't mean this in any disrespect to you, but this is like first grader argumentation, and it's been
This is not
repeated
a
so
first
many
grader. I
times.
mean, this people
I don't
think that this
believe
is a
that God
first
can
grader
do. I
problem
don't believe that
because
God can
you
do
have tried to
everything.
find a
He
way
can
to
do everything that is
say to
logically
people that
possible.
God,
And that's what I've been
why
arguing
can't
this whole
God
time.
do?
So for you to bring that up isn't even relevant. I've been literally
Can your
arguing this
God
whole
can
time
your God
that I
exist
can't.
in can your God exist in paraconsistent? Can your God exist in a universe where paraconsistent logic exists,
What do you mean by power consistent logic? What does that mean?
where laws of logic don't hold?
I believe that laws of logic are a reflection of who God is. So I would say
So
no.
your God is confined to one
He's
less
not
world.
confined. Again, they're grounded of
Is
his mind.
your God
They're a
is
reflection.
confined to one less world, right?
I
So
think
here's the
so.
problem. So
Anthony,
Madin, let me just answer this real quick. Let me just answer him real quick. The problem with you, Philo, and I would suggest that you really think about this going forward when you converse with people. You already have arguments in your head, and you already have the conclusion where you're going to
I
go with
think
it, and you're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're
look,
getting destroyed every time you open your mouth, and me and
no,
Madin are
man,
actually having a good conversation.
you cannot find answers to these things, right? I mean,
I
you
just
have made up
answered them.
your
It's very
argument
easy. It's
such
very
that nobody
easy.
can. You think that nobody can
This stuff is one
penetrate it
plus one. This
through
is
it,
so easy.
but
This is
it's
easy.
no.
Easy.
Well,
This is
Anthony,
you
Anthony,
think that it
Anthony,
is easy, right? I mean,
Anthony. Can I just talk for a minute?
sure.
Yeah. So, Anthony, the difference between you and my view is not too much. It's just you seem to have just inculcated into the definition of God, and I'm not saying you have. I mean, this
Well,
may
can
be.
you justify the laws of logic? That's what I want to hear.
Let me just explain what I'm saying first regarding this. Then we'll go into that next stage, because we were talking about morality. Now we're talking about logic. Yeah.
We never even got into morality, really. I mean, we've kind of.
We kind of had. You kind of did, right? You
Well, yeah,
kind of.
last time. I'm saying today that we haven't really got to get into it. I would like to.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said I got into the laws of
No.
no. So what I'm saying is that you define God to be identical. No, sorry, no, that's not right. You did not. It's not identical. You define laws of logic, laws of morality. Let's say mathematics, even perhaps, to be identical with God's personality.
No.
Right?
No. I never said.
Or
that.
in
I said
his mind, or
reflection.
his being, or his reflection. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I said
Okay.
reflection. I said
Sure.
reflection.
Okay. Reflection. Right. Of those things. So the grounding that you're talking about is just that it's part of him, right?
It's grounded
God,
in him, correct.
grounded in him.
All
right?
knowledge comes from him.
Right. You've grounded it into him, right?
Correct. Yep.
So it's like inextricably intertwined, right? I don't believe those things can be intertwined. I think those things are separate, right? But if I just wanted to, right, you could just hold a similar sort of view on an atheistic natural world, that these things, the laws of logic, the laws of morality, these are just grounded in nature, right? Why can't you just say that? Reason being, what do you mean by ground? Think about it this way: when you say
so
ground,
that's a good question. What
is ground? What does ground mean? Is grounded? It sounds way too vague. What am I trying to imagine when you say ground?
When we say ground, we're saying justify. Well, we can justify it. Like I can
justify. And how do you justify?
Because God has revealed himself to us, and spoken to us through divine revelation. So by you saying, it's just grounded in nature, right? That would be arbitrary, because how do you know that? Where are you getting that from? So the only way in which you can hold on, let me just finish. Let me just finish.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just finish. So the only way that you can know something is if the one who created all things, right, and has all knowledge, has spoken to you. And God has spoken to us in the Holy Bible. Right.
Everything ultimately then goes back to revelation and him saying something.
Yes, God needs to speak.
Right. So
yeah,
you've not really discovered how logic exists on God. It just, he says it.
Like I just said, the one who knows all things and created all things has spoken to us. So if God never spoke to us, we would know nothing about him. And that would be one of the problems for your position.
I'm not sure why you think that's a compelling argument though for logic.
Why? What I'm saying to you is,
how does God? I'm
going to answer.
Yeah, how does God justify logic?
So God justifies logic by grounding it in himself. The one in whom has all knowledge, right? The one in whom has all knowledge has revealed things to us. So
okay, but what does it mean
very simple.
when he utters that logic is justified by him? What does that even mean? You're saying the word.
That it's grounded in him. It just means that it's grounded in him. The one who has an infinite mind, the one who is unchanging, right? So laws of logic are immaterial. Hold on. Let me
show you the difficulty. Let me show you the difficulty.
You haven't let me talk.
It's grounded.
I know you.
Logic is grounded on a mountain.
Let me talk. Okay, so here's the thing.
Let me just show you the difficulty before you respond. If I say logic is grounded on this is the difficulty that I'm having. Logic is grounded in a mountain. What does that mean?
That means that doesn't mean anything. Again,
Yeah.
let me explain to you.
So
If
how
you
does
let
it
if you let
how does it
someone
make more
talk,
sense with God?
Madin,
How
if
does
you
it?
let
Yeah.
someone talk, you'll understand.
Yeah.
Okay, God is immaterial, God
Mm.
is unchanging, and God is omnipresent.
Mm.
These are all three necessary things for the laws of logic: immaterial, invariant, and universal.
Mm.
Okay, these are things that are necessary. So the being of whom logic is grounded in must have these three things and be a personal God as well. Okay, so God, okay, in his infinite mind, laws of logic are a reflection of who he is. So if we want to know anything, any truth or regarding salvation and things of that sort, we go to God's word. So my
Right.
question for
Go
you
on.
is this: in your position, your atheistic position, how do you ground the laws of logic? How do you justify them? I justify them in the creator of the universe, because in everything he does is logical.
Right. So you justify it based on the idea that the laws of logic are immaterial and their God is immaterial, right? Laws of logic are
So
universal and God is universal, right? Right.
correct.
So
Yes,
you
these are
believe in
things
it.
that would be necessary.
So you believe in an immaterial, universal kind of thing, right?
When I say universal, when I was speaking of God, I said omnipresent, but laws of
Right.
logic are
So,
universal, correct?
so for example, atheistic naturalists or atheistic Platonists. If you're an atheist, I'm not an atheistic Platonist. I'll explain what I
Sure.
think in a minute of
Yeah.
what logic is.
Go
For
ahead.
example, it's completely consistent with the picture of atheism to believe in, for example, the laws of logic as just this kind of necessary kind of fact of immaterial reality, right? It's just an immaterial thing that exists. You don't need to you don't need an extra mind or omnipotence to be a placeholder for it. So you're thinking that you're adding this extra superfluous part to it, which is that he's a person character, but you can just believe, just like you believe in nature. You obviously believe in nature. You believe, people exist, trees exist, universe exists, but and then you add another extra dimension of supernatural reality of a person, yeah, and in that person there's laws of logic. Why can't you just, yeah, if you can do that, why can't an atheistic Platonist believe, for example, right, there are just the laws of logic, there's just some immaterial fact about the world. You already
And
believe in
and
So
also these morality laws of logic
Mm.
are a unified thing, right? Unchanging, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
yeah, and
except
so that would
for
be one of the problems that I raised to you. So you believe in evolution, which is just randomness and chance. To
No,
have
that's
who
got
these,
nothing
said
to do with,
that's a different topic, right?
yeah, that's got nothing
Altogether.
to do
this
Yeah,
is
not for
no,
now.
again,
Don't jumble up
Philo,
topics.
no, dude, you're not even following what we're talking about. His worldview is that he believes in evolution. Do you not?
Who
well,
dropped off?
I don't know, I
Not
think,
not only don't call evolution. You must say
How did
man-made
Anthony drop off?
evolution.
all right, we're having too many interventions here. We'll have to say to Islamic Sword Channel, we'll have to talk to you later because we're having a deep conversation with one person, Anthony.
No,
But
no,
just
I'm just correcting him, Madin. I'm just correcting him that he
Mm.
states evolution, but he must call man-made evolution. Your faith on man-made evolution. So that's a correct sentence.
Right, that's a correct sentence for you, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah,
what
that's a correct
anybody else
sentence for
thinks.
you,
Mhm.
Anthony. I think you dropped off.
Yes.
If I clicked accidentally remove you, that was not the intention. It seems like your internet is a problem, but if you're listening, please join back again. Right? Maybe his internet went off. I don't know what happened. Yeah. So what happened? You just dropped off. Your internet
Oh,
went off.
did you kick me out or did I just?
No, I don't know. I don't
Oh,
think
okay.
maybe by accident I
Oh, yeah,
clicked
maybe
remove.
on
No, I
accident.
don't think so because
Yeah,
So, Anthony,
because I.
before you went, I wasn't talking about my view. I was talking about a consistent view
Oh,
with
okay.
atheism or naturalism. You know, natural. Now, you can be a naturalist about causal order, which is just physical order, and not be a naturalist about rest of things. You may be a type of naturalist who can't. For example, Stephen Law entertains this possibility, but he's not necessarily sure whether or not the laws of mathematics can be explained by physicalism, right, or something
Yeah.
like that. He thinks that the laws of mathematics are just like some immaterial fact about the world. So he's not excluding the
But that wouldn't
possibility.
be a justification for it, though. That's just an arbitrary. Well, we don't know what to do with this, so we're just going to say this is the answer.
No,
That's
I
the
mean,
problem with
no,
that's
no,
one of the problems with that.
here's the thing. When you go to God,
Hey,
you're also stopping at an
hey,
immaterial.
Madan, Ma-
1 minute.
Madan,
Yeah,
sorry, can I stop you for a second? Salman was here and waited for 2 hours, 1.5 hours. Salman, sorry,
Yeah, I'll
apologies.
just
I
say one
think we
more
should
thing and
have
then I'll
at least
go
had
because
had you
yeah.
say a few things. Yeah.
It's just too many. We just need to have a
yeah,
conversation with one person. To be honest, there's too many tangents and distractions, and that's causing a
Madin.
lot
No,
of.
well,
Hey,
see,
Madin, did I
Madan, if
give you my
somebody joins,
email?
then I think we have to respect that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
Yeah,
agree, but yeah.
yeah.
Madin,
I mean,
did
Yeah.
you take my email from last
I mean,
time?
this conversation is not going anywhere, by the way. Yeah. So, Madan, I'm gonna drop off. You and Anthony duke it out. By the way. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Islamic sword. Do you want to come another day? I'm sorry we couldn't entertain your questions and so on. It's just that we ended up in a conversation with Anthony, and yeah.
No issue. So, no issue. But let me speak. I just want to talk
Okay,
with
go on.
Philosapiens. Philosapiens, when you will stream your on in Urdu language.
I think that should be on Saturday or Sunday. All right. Hindi Urdu stream, right?
Okay. So
So
then you
Saturday or
put
Sunday.
this question specially. Okay, you put this question specially on that stream. So
Right.
I will explain you why your question is very, very wrong.
Which question?
It's against this question that
Mm-hmm.
we have to save you from the hell. Actually,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right.
that particular
Right.
question is, well, listen. That particular question is against the ethics. It's against rationality. It's against logic.
All right.
So
Let's talk about it. Let them
So
discuss
why
what they.
you want to say my again? I just put this question and then I will go. That if you can't believe something like hellfire, and you want us to save you from that hellfire, which you even can't care. So this question is actually according to my point, but I'm not pointing you. I'm pointing that question, particular question, especially from that person who is already openly saying that I'm not believing on hellfire. So this question is invalid. Okay.
All right.
So I
Let's
hope
talk about
you will.
its validity or invalidity in our next stream, right? Hindi Urdu stream. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. Bye bye. Okay. All right. Bye, guys. Madan,
All right,
Anthony.
Philo. Thanks for
I'm
having me,
gonna
buddy.
drop
All right.
off as well,
I'll see you
right?
soon.
You want to go?
Okay.
You can stay in the background if you want.
No, I'm just gonna. I'm
Okay.
gonna go and.
Okay, go for it.
All right. You two duke it out. Okay. Bye bye.
All right then.
Mhm.
So we can just stay for another 10-15 minutes if you want.
Yeah, that's perfect for
Yeah.
me. And then I gotta get going too. We could talk another.
Yeah, so what I would say is that if you are prepared to believe in, for example, a final stopping point, right? Then an atheist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'll tell you what I specifically believe in a second. But if you're prepared to believe in a final stopping point, which is God, right? Some people that are like there are some philosophers out there who believe in a final stopping point. That it's just that the laws of logic are necessarily true. They're not made of any materials. It's not that it's in the world somewhere like a physical spatial thing. Like the laws of logic is inside a post box. Where is the laws of logic? How do you ground it? Like, where is it? It's more like just a fact, and it's not a physical fact. It's just a fact, right? And that's as far as they go. And you may think that's a bit weird, right? But it's equally weird just for there to be this kind of immaterial mind that's the creator of all things, etc. Right? So they just see no reason to think this extra mind. They don't believe in biblical revelation. They don't believe in Quranic revelation. So they've got no reason to believe in this extra mind. All they have, but they do believe in the strength of mathematics, but they can't explain the mathematics through the physical world. It's not there. That number two is not your next door neighbor, right? But the number 2 + 2, will be true in all possible worlds, and that might just be like some sort of fact about the world, not a physical fact, but like an immaterial fact, and it just ends there. Now, you may say, what justifies that immaterial fact? Well, it's just the end point, right? It's just the end, just like God is the end point, it's the terminus. I don't see any
Well, the problem
incoherence.
is it's just arbitrary though.
It's
It's just
no
saying
more.
what it's saying
Yeah.
is Madin. What it's saying is we don't
Hmm.
know what to do with this, and
It's
so we're
not
just
though.
going to say that it's necessary fact. But
It,
but like you
it's not.
said, what about if I can conceive of a world in which there's no
Yeah.
laws of logic?
Yeah, but so these people don't think that you can't conceive of a world where there's so unlike you, how you can conceive of a world where there's Anthony but he has no arms. You can't conceive of a world where there's no laws of logic. So they may say that. So they would probably say that the laws of logic, in order to assume the world is there is no laws of logic, is to assume that there's a world that is it's true that there is no laws of logic, but that presupposes the laws of logic, right?
Yeah, but that's not a justification for the laws of logic, though. That's the problem, and that's my
You can
argument.
say, yeah,
How
I
can
don't
you
know what you mean.
justify the laws of logic?
You may say that the laws of logic I don't know what you mean by justification, but you may say it's a discovery. It's a discovery that is just like a primitive fact about the world. It's like
Yeah,
something that you just can't it just exists, right? It just
yeah,
ends there. It's a bit like the ontological argument. You can't imagine, like, in all possible worlds God must exist because you can't but
yeah,
but
yeah. I've heard that. I'm
it's
not a
like
huge fan of the argument, but
yeah, so so it's like saying, if I let me try and imagine a world where there is no laws of non-contradiction. I can't do that. That in itself is demonstration of the fact that it's a necessary fact, and necessary facts don't require justification. It's a necessary truth, right?
yeah. But what about
Necessary
if someone else can?
I don't think. Okay, then we just have a. I don't think you can. Then
Well,
we
see, that's
like
the problem. You don't think that you can, but what about someone else? You have no idea.
right. Then we just have to. I don't think so. I do think there's a difference between. I know you can. For example, I know you can actually. Let's be honest. You can imagine. You just don't. You don't want to call it God. You can imagine a malevolent, and yes, you can. It's not the
But
same.
here's the problem though. Your
More
epistemology
difficult.
you have an
Yeah,
epistemology that's different than mine. I don't go by what I can
yeah.
conceive of as being something that's logically possible. I don't think that that's the case. Again, my epistemology is
Mm,
grounded in the one true and living God who is Father, Son,
mm,
and Holy Spirit, and he has spoken to us. That's what my epistemology is grounded in. And
mhm.
what I'm trying to tell you is God is a necessary precondition for knowledge. And without God, you can't justify knowledge, specifically laws of logic, is what we've been speaking about.
Yeah.
And you've actually demonstrated that because you've told me, well, laws of logic, they're just things out there that we discover and they're just necessary truths. But that's not a justification. That's just saying there's laws of logic because there's laws of logic. That's all that you're telling me. And so you're not giving me an actual justification like I'm giving you.
No, because you have the same issue because the laws of logic are grounded in God's character, right?
They're a reflection of the mind of God.
Yeah. So that's just kind of like saying the laws of logic are the laws of logic as well. It's just found
No,
in
it's
God.
not. It's
Yeah.
it's it's precisely saying laws of logic are a reflection who this infinite, eternal, and unchanging
Yeah.
God and
Well,
his mind.
all right.
That's not
Let
that's
me
wait, that's
rephrase it.
vastly different.
Let me rephrase it. Let me
Yeah.
rephrase it. If the laws of logic are true in all possible worlds, then the laws of logic are just a reflection of reality, just the fabric of reality, right? In any possible world, it'll just have to be the case that the laws of logic exists, right? It just allows for coherence, right? As soon as you
But you don't
imagine,
know that. You don't know that though. That's the question is how do you know that?
well, I don't know what you mean. How do you know that?
How do you know that laws of logic are necessary in every single world and that they're just a reflection of reality? How do you know this?
So, so again, I'm not saying this is my view. I'm saying that
Well,
these are the
what's your
people
view then? I want to
who.
interact with your view.
Sure,
Tell
sure,
me
sure,
your
sure,
view.
sure, sure, sure. I'm just running through the list of plausible
Yeah, but
candidates
tell me
because
your view.
I don't have a completely firm view, but I've leaned toward different directions, right? So
Okay.
on this view, the justification. So you'll probably have, if you read through philosophy, that is a justification because it's a necessary truth. Necessary truths don't require further justification, and you learn about necessary truths through philosophical
Well, that's an
interest,
axiom then. If
right?
if it doesn't require a justification, it's an axiom. But axiom, you to appeal
No,
to
I'm
an
sorry.
axiom and say that you don't need a justification is just to be arbitrary. Because, like I mentioned to you last time, all I need to say is God is axiomatic, and therefore
No,
checkmate.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about axioms.
Well,
We may.
you did though, because if there are these fundamental beliefs that don't need to be justified and they're necessary, that's an axiom.
I probably hold a different definition of axiom. I'm not sure what you mean by axiom here,
So how
right?
do you define axiom then?
I've not used the word axiom at all,
I know you didn't,
right?
but how do you define it?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. You know, I've not. I'll have to think about what you mean by axiom in a minute. I don't use the word axiom too much, so this is probably why.
You used it
What?
last time we spoke, though.
Yeah, I said too much,
You
right?
said morality is axiomatic, objective
Um,
morality.
yeah, but I look what I said right now. I said I don't use that word too much, right? So I use the word morality as axiomatic. I can't remember exactly what I said then. It was more to do with the fact that it's a starting definition. I didn't say it didn't require justification. I didn't say axioms don't require justification,
But that's
right?
definitionally what an axiom is. They don't require. You can't justify an axiom. Is
Okay,
what I'm trying to
all
tell
right.
you.
If I understand that there is in the literature people who define axiom as something that doesn't require justification, that might be a bit different from me because I do think certain axioms may be more plausible than others. If you remember what I said last time, remember I said certain axioms are more. So maybe because I don't think it's the case that axioms don't require justification, because I do think axioms are a starting point for other thoughts. But it could be the fact that the axiom itself is mysteriously unjustified, but it's good enough for everything else. So it could be something like you think the axioms of sense data, right? You might be like a logical positivist who can say that the logical positivist never concluded that the sense data was accurate, but it was a starting point for the reality, right? So in that case, the axiom is unjustified in the sense that we don't know is true or false whether or not there is a reality beyond the external world exists. They didn't think that we could actually go and prove the external world exists. They thought it was a starting axiom for all knowledge, though. Or yeah, all knowledge rests upon this starting axiom, which is provisional, right?
And,
So,
but do you see the problem with that though? So if you're
I'm
starting with this
just, I'm
axiom,
just
what
yeah,
about if this? How do you know that this axiom is true? Is the question.
under the logical positivist view, you couldn't, right? You couldn't know that.
Exactly. So don't you
Yeah.
see how if your axiom, if you don't even, you're not sure and you can't actually know if
Mhm.
your axiom is right, then your whole entire worldview collapses.
Anthony, the thing is, I'm kind of missing what you're saying because it seems to me you keep going into different positions very, very quickly. Maybe a written conversation will be better, right? I'm not sure in order to clarify these things because it's moving way too fast to one place to another, right? Um, I don't want to talk about. I was just trying to give an example of how some people believe axioms. This axiom, sense data, hasn't got a it's a foundational stance in philosophy. It's called foundationalism, right? Foundationalists don't think you can justify the first sort of axiom, right? They just think that's the foundation of all knowledge, right? And that's it. Okay. And I was just trying to give an example of that. I'm not trying to explain how you can get sense data. I don't want to go into that tangent of data about how sensations can be truly reflective of the world, right? But the example here was just to explain that you can have different ways of looking at axioms. So, some people believe axioms don't require justification. Some people think that axioms do require a justification. We just can't do it. There's an epistemic gap, right? It's impossible to get down to it. I kind of steer in that direction for some things. I lean more towards the logical positivist school of thought, right? Where I don't think you can justify certain things like how do you prove that your senses are true, right? I don't think you can. How do you prove that the laws of logic are true? Well, you have to presuppose of the laws of logic. So it's almost impossible to go and prove the laws of logic without assuming the laws of logic. So it's just like a kind of you can say an axiom, but I won't also say it's doesn't require any justification.
Yeah, but do you recognize though that this is my precise argument, and you actually just granted to me my argument? Like you just said that my argument is correct.
No, I didn't say that your
No,
argument.
you did. We have it on tape, so we can go back to it.
Go on.
But you literally said to me that I can't prove that my senses are true. Okay, so if you don't know that your senses are true, then you don't know that anything that you're saying right now is true. So anything that you say to me, why should I accept what you're saying to me?
So let's not go into that specific argument.
We have to. This is my whole argument, man. This is my whole argument. My whole argument is that your senses, laws of logic, knowledge, morality, objective morality can't be justified in your worldview. And you just granted. Hold on. I let you talk a lot. So you just granted to me that I can't justify them. And you're over here, you're going live, and you're trying to teach people about your worldview.
Anthony, Bertrand Russell, A.J. Ayer. Yeah, if this was so easy, right? They were all logical positives. They all of them thought that you can't justify, your sense data.
Exactly. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
I don't want to go into that particular conversation because we're talking about morality. I like to stay to the topic. If we went into the tangents, I want to bring it back, make the tangent relevant to talk about morality.
But Maiden, you have to acknowledge this, though, because this is very significant. No. You have just told me atheism is unjustifiable.
No, this is.
You've just told me that atheism is false.
You're engaging.
Something that is not justifiable is arbitrary, and arbitrariness is irrationality.
Anthony,
I won.
You're being a little bit disingenuous there because that's
not at all. Not at all.
Right. So no. When it comes to people like Bertrand Russell, A.J. Ayer, right? They did believe that you can have knowledge, right? They did. They just simply did not say that you can have knowledge about ontology. It's like Immanuel Kant thought that you can know the phenomena, but you can't. The pneumona, but you can't know. Sorry, the phenomena, but you can't know the pneumona, right? So you can have sense data, but you can't have knowledge about the actual world. Now, so if you can't justify your senses in the sense that Descartes tried to justify senses without circularity, right? That doesn't mean you can't have knowledge because we have different definitions of knowledge, right? When we say atheism is true, then like Bertrand Russell thought or A.J. Ayer thought, they thought atheism is true in the sense that within the world that they have access to, atheism is true. They did not talk about the actual world outside of the senses because that's it. They thought, as a logical positive thought, that was meaningless to talk about it. So you may want to, I don't know if you have already, pick up A.J. Ayer's book on positivism, logical positivism. The logical positive thought, for example, it was a meaningless question to even ask whether the external world exists because you can't escape your mind and senses to confirm whether or not an external world exists.
Yes, and you can know this stuff if the one who knows all things has revealed it to you. That's my whole point.
The issue with this, Anthony. Issue with this, Anthony. Listen to me. Issue with this, Anthony. How do you know the Bible? Through your senses.
How do I know the Bible?
You access the Bible through the senses. The revelation comes through the senses. So you're still stuck in the matrix. So you've not escaped the senses. You have a being telling you within the matrix that your senses are true. This is Descartes' problem 101. So you've not solved it, nor have I solved it, right? Because let's go with it then. I'm going to drop the morality stuff because you want to talk about it enthusiastically. Let's talk about it enthusiastically, right? I can't solve the problem of senses. I'm submitting that even you won't be able to do that. Right.
Well, here's the thing that I'm trying to say to you, though. I'm just saying that you need to be able to justify them. So forget about the matrix thing for a second. What I'm just asking you to justify them. And yes, you can. In a Christian worldview, you can justify them. In your worldview, you admittedly said you can't.
No. Even in a Christian worldview, you can't. Right. So guess what? My worldview, right, is already consistent with that because I've always been at an ontological level, right? Closer to logical positivists in the sense that, I don't think René Descartes solved the problem of senses, right? He tried to come to God, right? But he tried to say a good God would create a human being with accurate senses. But But every philosopher since then has look, I've studied a philosophy course. I mean, I've got a degree in, in the subject, pretty much. Every philosopher came to the conclusion that Rene Descartes' resolution of the problem of sense is entirely circular, because
It
how does
is.
he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
because he tries to justify his senses using his senses, but then even if you use an intermediary, which is God, he accesses God through his senses. So you're stuck at sense data. So nobody solved that problem, right? Henceforth, when you say the justification is that God comes through the Bible and Bible tells you that the sense data problem is solved or logic is solved, it's not, because it's an entire circle as well, right? Because if we can't escape our senses to justify our senses, it's an impossible burden for the theist and the atheist. You're missing what I'm saying. Go on. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Can
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully,
sorry.
you see, I'm not trying to
You're
avoid the
missing what I'm
conversation.
saying, though.
Yeah,
Okay,
I just don't want
if
to.
we move, what I'm saying
Yeah,
though is what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying though,
go on.
let's move past that premise for a second. Okay,
Yeah.
let's both grant, we both agree that we have generally reliable senses. Do you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay, so fine, we got past that point. What I'm
Mhm.
asking you though, by what worldview can provide the necessary preconditions for us to have reliable senses? That's what I'm saying. So, in my worldview, I believe that God is infinite, eternal, and unchanging, that he's
Mhm.
personal, right? And he has given us, through his word, he tells us he's given us, the ability to be rational creatures,
Yep.
to be logical, right? And, that our eyes, our ears, our taste, our smell are generally reliable. So I can ground this in God, right? My question for you though is, because you believe in naturalism,
Mhm.
how can you trust your senses in which everything is chance and randomness? How can you
Bro,
justify to
Anthony,
have generally
that's a different.
reliable?
Anthony,
Well, let me
Anthony,
just
Anthony,
finish.
that,
Let me just
Anthony,
finish.
that's yeah, that's a
Hey
different.
man,
That's
you're
a
just cutting me
different
off
point.
though. You're cutting me off.
I
That's
know,
what
no,
I'm
that's a
trying to
different
argue
point.
though. No, but that's what I'm trying to
No, that's
argue. I'm
not
not
what you're trying to do.
arguing.
You weren't trying to argue that all this time.
Yes, yes,
That's
I
new.
am. This is my argument
This
on
is a
all
new
these
point that
things.
you've
But
added.
you don't listen. You cut people
No,
off.
no,
You're
no,
not
no.
okay. You're
That's a
gonna
new
keep
point.
cutting me off. You do this every
Acknowledge
time.
and admit that's a new point that you've added now.
No,
That's a
Madine,
new
you just
point.
haven't understood me.
I, Anthony, I completely understand you. Look,
No,
I understand.
my whole argument about morality, my whole
Hmm.
argument about laws of logic, my whole
Yeah.
argument about the five senses, all of these things are the same argument that I'm trying to give you. That the Christian worldview provides the necessary preconditions for these things. But
Sure.
your worldview doesn't
So,
provide the necessary
no,
preconditions for them, and
the
therefore it's
Christian.
false.
No, you don't get it. The Christian worldview doesn't provide the necessary preconditions for these things, because you access the Christian worldview using those flawed senses, using those limited and finite senses,
You
and
just
then you.
granted that we have generally reliable senses. You granted that.
I did.
You
What are
already
you talking?
granted that point. You granted we have generally reliable senses. Did you not say that?
No, hold on a
Yes, you
minute,
did. We have it on tape.
Anthony. This is being dishonest right now. You're being
No,
dishonest.
you literally just said to me, I said, do you agree with me that we have generally reliable senses? And you said
I
yes.
was listening to you what you were saying. I was listening. I was listening to what you were saying. If you said right, I was just listening to what I was just.
Wait, okay, so fine. Do you disagree that we have reliable senses? Generally reliable senses?
So this is Descartes' argument. So let me
I don't care
recite
about
it.
Descartes. I don't care about
Listen,
Descartes. I want to know about you.
listen.
Do
I'm
you
answering.
believe?
Anthony,
No, just
stop.
just
Anthony,
say
just
yes or
stop.
no.
Anthony, stop.
Do you believe that we
Anthony,
have
stop.
generally
Anthony,
reliable
stop.
senses?
No, no,
Yes
Anthony,
or
stop.
no? Yes
Anthony,
or
stop.
no? Yes or no?
Anthony,
Yes or
Anthony,
no?
Anthony, stop chatting shit. Come on, listen to me.
Do you
What?
believe we have generally reliable senses?
Anthony, stop chatting
You
crap.
can't
I didn't.
answer anything.
Anthony, stop. You think you're pulling a fast one here,
Okay.
but you
No, I
need a
don't.
philosophical
No, I
lesson. You don't
don't.
know
I
what
really
you're
just
talking
want an
about.
answer.
Let me give you a philosophical lesson, right? Okay.
Dude, you've got first of all, let me just say this real quick.
No, 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 no,
I'm
no, no,
not
no.
I'm not a I'm not a philosophical guy.
I
And
don't give
I'll
a
be
damn.
honest
This
with
is
you,
what
you're
it's
getting smoked.
evident. It's evident by how you're equivocating terminologies and you're just slapping it on. You'll be laughed out of the class, right? Right? Because you're playing semantics, man. Listen, right? So this was generally Descartes' argument, right? right? You have senses, you have reliable senses, right? But when you try to use your reliable senses to come to the conclusion that you have, yeah,
What?
are you there?
Yes, I'm listening
Yeah,
to you.
are
But
you,
you're just rambling like you continue to do.
no, I'm not rambling.
You can't
Yeah,
answer straight questions. I just want to know if you believe. I know what the
I'm,
Descartes case
I'm
is.
answering
I
your
studied
question. I'm
Descartes case.
answering your question. Listen
I
to me. Listen to me. Listen to
just a
me.
yes or no.
Listen to me. Right. So no, it's not just a yes or no question. Right. You can't just listen to me. So when Descartes tried to solve the problem of his own senses, right, he then thought if he accesses God through maybe the Bible, through revelation or whatever you want to call it, or believes in a God, right, then that would solve the problem of senses, because then you have a God that creates a being with reliable senses. But how did he access that? He accessed it through those same senses he's trying to justify. So it ends up being circular, right?
That's not my argument though. We moved
And
past
and
that.
he thought if he had perfectly reliable senses, but that begged the question, right? The whole point is that you don't know whether or not your senses accurately translate to a ontological reality. Now,
That's
when I
why I
say
asked you though. That's why I asked you though. Do you believe that we
Anthony,
have generally reliable senses?
Anthony, we have generally reliable senses in the sense
Thank
that
you.
no, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. You're playing a silly game.
You already said yes, and I'm gonna pull it up on tape.
You're,
I'll get the
you're
transcript and I'm gonna send it to
Anthony,
you, just so you
Anthony,
know.
Anthony, stop. I'm using it in two different senses.
My
I'm not
goodness.
saying that the senses are. I'm not saying right. Listen to me. Listen to this very carefully.
Go ahead. Hurry up.
So,
Make it concise.
so
Come on,
no, don't tell me to be concise. All right, I can literally listen.
bro. Bro, you don't, bro. Hold on.
I've
Time out
actually
for a second.
taught philosophy.
I
I've
let you
actually
talk
taught
so
philosophy
much.
class. You can't be able to. You won't be able to do that. So shut the fuck up.
I
Right?
let you talk so much.
Okay. So you just keep
And you cut
interrupting.
me off.
You just keep interrupting. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't give a damn. Just listen to me, right? So, for example, you can have generally reliable sense in the following sense, right? So, you have a perception of a tree. That is a reliable indicator. And if for example, that perception of the tree there's a consensus, lots of people see it, you can experiment, observe, that's a generally reliable sense. Now, that's one sense of the using of the word. That's what the logical positive believe. Logical positives like Bertrand Russell, AJJ thought that that's what science can do. There's a connection or correspondence between our senses and reality. Now, if you try to use the same senses to say whether the tree actually exists in an ontological sense, that mind independently, now you don't have generally reliable senses.
Got it.
Because
Okay, got it. No problem.
can you see now? I apologize for swearing at you, but I'm trying to get this point. Yeah, I'm trying to get the point that I'm using. I apologize, by the way. You were getting on my nerves.
I like you. I like you. I know every time we get heated.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
you were getting on my nerves, but I like you as well. I actually like you as well. But you were being a bit of irritating there because you wouldn't let me finish.
I apologize too.
Yeah. So remember, this is what Immanuel Kant thought as well. Immanuel Kant thought you can have general reliable senses about the world, but if you ask the deep philosophical question, do you have a sense of the tree, the actual pneumona, the actual world? No, you don't. Now, when it comes to Descartian stuff, which is where the senses try to justify the senses, where you try to use God as a middleman, then you fall into that problem again. Because even when you use your senses to find a God, right? When you start to ask the hard ontological question, then the problem again becomes: are you actually finding a God outside in the mind independent world, or is it part of that same matrix? In which case, you're still circular.
All right, so I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So what I'm saying is, in the case, in the sense in which you said we do have generally reliable senses, because you said that there's one sense in which we do, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that sense in which you believe that we have generally reliable senses, I want to know what worldview can provide the necessary preconditions for that. That's my question. So if you believe,
okay,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I get it. I get what you're saying. So if all right, let's talk about what it's sense in that two senses, the ontological sense and epistemological sense, right? I believe
Yeah,
you can have
just the one
reliable.
that you affirm, though. Just the one that you affirm.
Yeah,
Don't worry about the other one.
yes. The ontological sense we can't do it, and I don't think there can be a Christian worldview where the necessary precondition can be the case, because you can't have ontology on my, or you can't have real ontology on my worldview, simply because you're always bound by sense data. So even where you find the Bible and a revelation, that's still epistemology, and because you're still stuck by your senses.
Yeah, just
And
the one sense, though. Just stick with the
yeah,
one sense that you
yeah,
said that you did agree.
right, yeah, exactly. So on my view, I lean more towards the epistemological view, where you can just have knowledge of things. You can't lay claim to the hard ontological reality because you're stuck in the confines of, you're going to end up with the Descartesian loop, the circularity, because you try to justify your senses using your senses, it'll never work. So in the ontological sense, you can't do it. In the epistemological sense, you can do it. So we can't know whether we're in the matrix. I don't take pride in that. I know that sounds weird, bizarre, but I don't think you can as well. I know you believe you can, but I don't think you can. I don't think it works.
Yeah, but just stick to the one that you think that you said that you agree that we do.
Yeah.
So I just want to know how you would justify that.
Yeah, in terms of epistemology, yeah, you're right. Under naturalism, with the laws of physics, and you have evolution. It's called the evolutionary debunking argument, or Alvin Plantinga's argument against. I don't think they work. Right? I have no good reason to believe. Remember, I said I do believe in that sense. We have generally reliable. I have no refuter, a defeater to the idea that we have generally reliable senses that we evolve for. Right? Of course, there's limitations, there's cognitive biases, there's illusions that we suffer from. But in general, it does seem like we've evolved to be a rational sort of agent to some extent, and we have some perception of reality. That's about it. Now,
yeah. So that would be begging the question, though, because what I'm asking you is this:
mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, since evolution teaches that there's no infinite mind, there's no personal infinite mind behind creation.
Evolution doesn't teach that.
I know. I said since evolution doesn't teach that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Since evolution doesn't teach that there's an infinite, immaterial, personal mind behind creation, and so therefore everything is randomness and everything is chance.
No, that's not. So evolution doesn't say everything is randomness and everything is chance. It says mutations happen randomly.
But they're guided by nothing.
Yeah. And
so it's random.
Evolution,
it just randomly happen this way.
Natural selection happens by relative chance. It's not literal chance. It's not real randomness, right? So
it is. Well, it is in the sense that there's nothing guiding it.
Right? No, there is a guiding. There's a filtration process. It's a filtration process in the sense that advantageous genes get selected for survival. Those are the things that guide it.
Okay, survival. Okay, so
and laws of physics. Yeah, laws of physics. Yeah, there's no reason.
But truth isn't necessary for survival.
So this is Alvin Plantinga's argument, and we actually don't know yet. So we don't actually know whether that's true or not, right? That
well, we do. There's examples that you can come up with, even in your own head. So, for example, right? I'll give you an example. So let's say a man.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
I'm just giving you an example. So a man is ugly.
Yeah. So
but he has confidence that he's not.
I agree.
He goes up to a woman.
Yeah, Anthony. I know what you're going to say. It's like I want to skip this part because I do want to go to sleep very soon, but I want to talk to you about this. So it's logically possible that truth has no connection with survival, but there's no reason to believe. So Alvin Plantinga tries to make a probabilistic argument that it's more, natural selection won't produce truth-producing minds. Is more likely to produce unreliable senses, and most cognitive psychologists, cognitive scientists, evolutionary biologists, and philosophers have said there's no reason to believe that that's correct, because the probability distribution he's not demonstrated that it's highly unlikely that truth-producing minds will not be produced. Right. So whilst we can conceive of brains that, whilst we can conceive of a brain that can survive, for example. Like you're about to say, you can just navigate the world while imagining you're in Mortal Kombat, right? Whilst you're also surviving, right? You don't. There doesn't have to be a connection between your perceptions and survival. You're correct. It doesn't have to be. I can logically conceive
Yeah.
of a
So,
world. Yeah,
but if you,
I can.
so if you grant that though, if you
Yeah,
grant that,
yeah.
you just prove my argument to be true?
No,
So,
because
so,
no, I'm saying it's not. It's no reason to believe it. That's physically was the case when it came
well,
to evolution.
I
Because the
guess my
probability.
question. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm saying
one second.
that's one possibility. I'm saying that's one logical possibility out of many different logical possibilities. But we don't know how likely any of those logical possibility was because we don't have the probability distribution.
Well, that's the thing. You
Mhm.
don't know one way or the other. You can't know because it's not guided by a personal, infinite, immaterial mind. That's my whole point. So, what I'm saying is though is
Yeah,
since even if you claim though, even if you claim so
yeah,
if you claim that it's survival guided, in
yeah.
which to that I would say, well, why is it even survival guided? Right? That's just random. It just randomly came that it's survival guided. But even if I grant that to you, that doesn't mean that it's also truth guided. And so therefore, why would you still trust your rational faculties and your senses?
So as to the first question, the reason that it's survival guided is to do with a lot of biological stuff, right? Of course, it's to do with the fact that self-replicating molecules, things that survived, continue to replicate, and
Yeah, but why?
that's a different question of physics. That's not a question of philosophy, right?
But it's just random that it did it that way. You agree that it's just random that it did it that way.
Let's not veer into another topic of how that topic.
Okay, yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah,
yeah.
go
The
ahead.
second
Go
question is a bit more relevant. The second question is a bit more relevant. Is that sorry? Can you just say the second part again so I can? Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just getting late. My mind's going.
Yeah.
I said something about okay. So even if I grant to you that, it's, I grant I'll grant your premise that, or your statement rather, that, it's survival guided.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've already showed, I mean that just because survival guided doesn't mean that it's truth guided, right? And therefore,
Yeah.
why would you trust your rational faculties or your senses?
Sure. In terms of it being survival, truth can be under logically conceivable models one heuristic that enhances survival, right? And you can think of many logically possible worlds where truth is in fact survival enhancing. I can think of logical possible worlds where truth isn't, right?
But exactly.
And I can think of so truth is not necessary for survival, but that's complete philosophy. It's just logical speculations. In terms of biology, we don't have a rigorous probability distribution to know exactly how which of the different types of processes of brain processes would have been selected. Just like we don't have the logical the probability distribution of many things in evolution. Saying it could have been, would have been that way, other way. We don't know the biological pressures that would have selected for certain brains and why they would have selected for certain brains that would amplify truth. And therefore, it's just but there are many sketches by certain biologists who thinks that's the simplest way that evolution would program the brain. It would be more complicated for a brain to form and more energy consuming, for example, for a brain to form that hallucinates about an entirely completely different reality. So imagine me surviving, eating bread and surviving, whilst also imagining that I'm in a different world. There's a disconnection between my perception and the world. That's more complicated.
But here's the thing, Maiden.
Yeah,
but here's the thing,
so
though, right?
They think it's improbable. They think it's more plausible that evolution will select for truth-producing brains, not entirely truth-producing, because our brains are obviously imperfect. We can't sense many things. We need microscopes. We have a lot of illusions that we feel, but to some extent, there's a connection between truth and survival. And whilst this is not wholly known to be true, as in this is indeed a plausible candidate, and therefore we should take the position where we're entitled to think that therefore that my senses are provisionally generally reliable until I've got a defeater.
Yeah, and I think I can't believe that you don't see the issue with this. You've built your whole worldview on a foundation.
Anthony, keep in mind, I don't build my worldview based on what I prefer. I acknowledge there are problems in philosophy. There's definitely deeply uncomfortable problems in philosophy, right?
Well, yeah, I know, but what I'm saying though is this, right? So,
Mm.
so you know, you just said that basically you're right. You know, that the evolution process is not truth guided; it's survival guided. And but
But there's a
with that
connection
being
between.
said, you
Mm.
trust your rational faculties. You don't even question them, as well
Mm.
as your five senses. But everything that you're saying to me right now, right, that's all flowing from you in your
Mhm.
worldview believing that you evolved.
Mhm.
So why do you trust anything of your rational faculties if you just told me that evolution is survival guided, and you granted that, yeah, I don't, you don't know at least that
No,
whether
there's
it's,
what I said. Let's not strawman. I
I
don't
don't think I'm
I,
strawmanning. You
I
said
don't think
both
you're
ways.
deliberately. I don't think
You said it.
I don't think you're deliberately strawmanning. I'm just saying. Let's not
Okay.
do. What I'm saying that cognitive scientists, evolutionary biologists do think there is a link between survival and truth to some extent. They do think, for
Right.
example,
Okay, so
all,
fine. I'll grant that. I'll grant that. I'll grant that.
yeah,
So I'll
yeah,
grant that for a second. Yeah, I'll grant
right.
that for a second. So to some degree
Mhm.
is key there. Okay.
Yes.
But we don't know to what degree. We don't know where, when, what situations and stuff like
Sure.
that. And so
Sure.
with that being said, right, like you're trusting in your rational faculties when you go and study philosophy. But why would the evolution process care anything about the way in which you do philosophy? Right? It would only be guided. The truth of guiding it, right,
Mhm.
would only be so far as for the purpose of reproducing.
Mhm. So, okay, that's a good point. So, in terms of um, uh, uh, evolutionary explanations behind thinking and thinking styles and so on and so forth, we don't believe that. We don't obviously believe that evolution directly selects for everything. Obviously, evolution did not select for philosophy. Philosophy is like a byproduct of a highly capable, intelligent mind that can engage in abstract thought for survival, and using those tools of abstract thought, we can engage in philosophy. In fact, I used the exact argument that you used to say certain aspects of philosophy may not be reliable. So, sitting in your armchair thinking about certain metaphysical speculations may not be reliable, right? For many things, perhaps because of that reason, which is that keep in mind, I'm a skeptic.
So
So this is why I can entertain these possible things. Remember, I don't have extremely firm views on. I lean towards certain directions and
yeah,
so on.
okay, gotcha.
My
All right,
view,
cool.
my view on philosophy is actually that perhaps so, because of evolution didn't directly select for philosophy. Our brains are finite and limited, and therefore our philosophical meanderings may not be the greatest reliable guide to actual reality.
Yeah.
Having
So
said
you
that,
would
yeah,
you admit
yeah.
that everything that you're saying today to me could be all 100% wrong?
Not philosophy. In terms of philosophy, there's a possible view that I entertain. I'm not saying I hold on to that view. That's why I'm saying I'm a skeptic. I can entertain that thought because
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm just
I'm
saying though,
saying
yeah, how would it not follow though that everything that you're saying to me is
if I thought,
use
if I thought, if
is
I
more than
yeah,
likely, if not
if I
completely.
thought, right,
Yeah.
if I thought, so I feel like I pay a price when I talk to you honestly,
What do you
because you
mean
try
by
to,
that?
huh?
What
I
do you mean
mean,
by that?
it's like you try to get me on a gotcha when it's not about that, right?
Well, it is
Yeah,
about that for me because I'll tell you why,
yeah,
and I don't mean it. I don't want to.
yeah,
I'm not trying to get an I got you to say that I won.
yes,
Although pride
yes.
gets in the way sometimes, and so I admit that. The
Well, you
reason why
shouldn't
I
do that
wanted
because I'm not trying to do that with you. I'm not trying
Well,
to do
yeah,
that
well,
with
I'm
you.
going to tell you
Yeah,
why. Well, for you, for if you get an I got you and you win, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But from my position, in which I believe is the truth, if I'm right, this means that you will spend all eternity paying for your sins under the righteous judgment of God. And so this is why I come up here so that I can preach Christ to you,
right,
because
right, right. All right,
he's the one in whom all wisdom is in. All
right.
wisdom and knowledge is in Christ. And he's the one in whom I offer
So
to you to
I
believe in
disagree.
him and to trust in him, and that you would have salvation in him.
Sure, sure. I disagree with what you're saying that it doesn't really matter because ultimately, if atheism, let's say atheism is true, it depends on what sort of atheism you believe in, but it's not that it doesn't matter at all because even if you're a nihilist, right? well, not a nihilist, maybe somebody who doesn't believe in morality, it may matter to him quite a lot about his life, subjectively speaking.
It wouldn't matter because
Right?
we are born to die, and once we
Right.
die, we dissipate,
All right.
and there's nothing else. So your position, if you're right, all you have is bragging rights. It means nothing.
No.
Ultimately, it means absolutely nothing if you were
Nobody.
to be right. Because again,
Nobody.
I'm going to die, and you're going to die.
Anthony, you're doing it
That's
again.
it.
You're doing it. You're doing it again. So these are really deep philosophical questions that I can't really go into exactly. So now you're talking about meaning of life and whether it matters or not. You know, on the grand.
This is just fundamentally true. You can't argue against this. If you're right, what does it matter?
What do you mean? What it matters?
If
What does that
you're
mean?
right, if you're right in this conversation, right?
Yeah.
If you're right that Christianity is not true and that your atheism
This
is true,
this is the thing.
what does it matter?
This is the thing. You kind of go off on a tangent and then you just want to focus
just
on that.
answer the question. It does. What does it matter?
What do you mean?
What it matters?
Yeah. What you
know.
go? All right. Hold on a minute.
Go ahead.
Of course, subjectively it would matter. It will subjectively it will matter to your friends, your family, your society, your culture, the things you do, whether you want to eat. The mere fact that it ends and it doesn't impact things on a cosmic scale does not mean that it doesn't matter whilst you're existing on this earth, right?
Okay.
The fact that cinema.
Okay, fine. So
wait. No. You asking me a question.
It'll matter how I live my life now. So it'll matter. Hold on. It'll matter how I live. No. Listen. It won't matter for eternity, correct?
Because if you believe
will
in
it matter for eternity,
that's what I've just said that. Anthony. Yeah, you've got an issue here where you're equivocating, eternal meaning with temporary meaning, and you're equivocating it with it doesn't matter at all. Well, it does matter even finitely, even if it doesn't matter infinitely, right? And plus, if it matters,
so let me rephrase my question. What does it matter in terms of after you die?
So it's an equivocation, isn't it, to say it doesn't matter at all? Matter at all is an absolute statement.
Sure. Fine. Grant my equivocation fallacy. Here.
Okay.
What does it matter after I die if you're right?
I'm not talking about after you die. I'm saying it does matter. No, that's a different point. I don't care about that.
I know. I'm making a different point.
If atheism
is a different point.
If atheism is true, right, it matters. That's the whole point. That's the only thing I wanted to do.
What? Okay,
I did not want to. I did not want to show. I did not want to show that it matters in an afterlife, because if there is no afterlife, it matters in this life.
Madin, so this is my question for you.
You're giving me a burden.
Does it matter? Would it matter if you're correct in this conversation? Does it matter after I die?
Absolutely, it will matter whilst I live.
After I die.
After I die, it will matter whilst I live, and if I die, to those who live after me.
Okay, but what does it matter for me after I die? But what does it matter for me after I die?
There is not. Look, remember what we're presupposing. Listen to me, Anthony. We're presupposing there is nothing after you die. So after you die, nothing matters.
Right.
Whilst I never defended. I was not trying to justify. We are agreement here. I'm saying in this life it matters. So
do you think you can change my mind?
What are you talking about?
Do you think you can change my mind to believe atheism?
Do you agree that under atheism, somebody can get subjective meaning in this life, and it matters to them in this life? I'm not talking about second life, because I don't agree, because under atheism
I think if you were to convince someone of atheism, that you're actually making it worse for them on this life.
I'm not trying to no, Anthony, I'm not trying to make a rhetorical case for atheism. I'm trying to make a philosophical. Yeah,
I understand that. They're all connected.
Not a lawyer's game. It's not. I'm not trying to be a lawyer
ethics is a branch of philosophy.
I'm not engaging in theatricality.
Ethics is a branch of philosophy.
I agree with that. What do you mean?
Okay, so it's relevant.
All right. I don't think what you're saying is correct here. So
what is not saying that I'm correct? Is ethics not a branch of philosophy?
It has no bearing on what you're saying in respect to atheism.
Yes, it would, because if you're convinced one way or another, it's going to change how I morally live my life.
What do you mean?
If I'm a Christian,
Yeah.
it's I'm going to live my life a different way than if I'm an atheist. For example, you earlier cursed at me. Christians aren't to curse.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear
I
me?
hear you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
So all right. You are conflating a lot of topics here very, very quickly into little points.
Okay.
So
Well,
so
let's wrap up one more point
so
because
as I
we
said,
can talk some other times.
no,
And
Anthony, as I
you're
said,
playing your
Anthony,
philosophical games now. So
Anthony, as I said,
go
it
ahead, buddy.
matters. It matters a lot in this world, and you can live an ethical life. I never said anything about that, right? Of course, it matters. I just said you can. It matters to your family. First of all, I try to talk about atheism in a very broad sense, not just assuming my beliefs. I include the nihilist. It will matter to the nihilist as well. It'll matter to the psychopath, but it matters immorally to them. Obviously, remember I discussed with you in one of our first streams that you can make an objective moral case, objective case
I
for
mean,
morality.
I think you utterly failed there. But I mean, you
I,
tried something.
guess what?
You said they're the axioms. You said they're
You have no.
axioms, and I said, how do you know you have the right axioms? And you
Yeah,
made
yeah, yeah,
some
yeah.
sense. And then you just pointed the finger at me.
No, I didn't. I didn't just point the finger at you. I said to you. I said I gave you a
Okay,
justification.
so if I'm an atheist and you're an atheist, and
You just keep asking questions,
or
Anthony.
let's
Anthony,
hypothetically say that objective morality is axiomatic.
Look at
and I
this.
have
Look
different
at this.
axioms
Look
than you
at
have.
this. Look at this, dude. You're just crazy. You're honestly crazy. I'm just making a different point by talking about morality, and you're not going back to morality. You just latch onto everything, and I know why. Because
Yeah, because I refuted you
you're a
every
dishonest
time.
interlocutor. You're a dishonest interlocutor.
I refuted you every time.
You've not defeated me. You've not defeated me. What are you talking about?
Okay,
Anthony,
go ahead.
if there was a debate, look, if there was a debate team and there's a philosophy team, etc., schooled in philosophy, I will win each time. You don't have a
Okay.
you don't have a jury here, yeah. If there was a team of philosophy professors, they would all agree with me because 90% of the philosophy moral philosophers are atheists.
How do you know?
And they agree with objective morality like me.
Okay, well,
they don't agree with me.
What about if they were Christians though?
But they're not. They're not. Phil Paper's review, Phil Paper's surveys tell
Maybe
us
the ones that you know. Do you know every philosopher?
Look at you being dishonest. It's a survey.
Do you know every
Listen
philosopher?
to me. Listen to me. I didn't say every philosopher. I said the vast majority of philosophy of moral philosophy philosophers are atheistic, and they are deontologists.
Do you have the statistic?
Morality.
Do you have the statistic for me?
Yeah, Phil Paper's survey.
They have every single morally whatever you said philosopher accounted in that.
They have the vast. They've done a survey, a representative sample.
Okay. So it could be inaccurate, right?
So this is the thing, you just don't understand academic thinking. A representative sample allows you to make statistical generalizations that are reliable.
But it could be inaccurate. Right. Am I correct that there's a chance it could be inaccurate?
No, it's a high probability because
it's a high probability.
Look, I'm going to be more debating with you. Look, I tried to be. Listen to me. I tried to be an open and fair, honest philosopher with you all this time, and now I'm going to be more of a polemic. You want to go down that route? Because guess what? Yeah, I can go down that route and play that same game, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so it depends which one you choose. I thought we were gonna have a good conversation, but you just want to play the whole kind of I got you game. You want to play the I got you game. I'll embarrass you. I will embarrass you.
Go ahead.
I will embarrass you.
You don't hold anything back. I mean, don't hold anything back. You think that I'm like nervous about that? I don't think that you're as intelligent as you think that you are, and I think that you've gotten.
And I don't think you're intelligent at all.
But I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a philosopher.
It doesn't matter. You're not intelligent at all. So no. You can't just say because for a philosopher I'm not intelligent. I'm still more intelligent than you.
According to who?
So you're just playing that game.
Exactly. You
According
keep
to
making
according
assumptions
to
and
all right, I'll tell you
assertions.
what. According to what? According to exams. According to schooling.
Okay.
According to
Do you know my
according to
exams and my schooling? What's my
yeah.
exams and my schooling?
Yeah, I can tell you right now that you're not a philosopher because
Okay.
I've
How
had
do you know?
if I had a
Do you,
conversation with listen, if I had a conversation with William Lane Craig about this, he would actually be saying very many similar things to
how do
you.
you
But
know?
more,
Did you talk to William Lane Craig?
I've seen William Lane Craig debate other.
You need to study more logic, man.
Yeah, no. I've seen William Lane Craig debate other philosophers like Graham Oppy,
But
and
you've
they
made
actually
fallacy after fallacy
and
though.
and no, you don't know what fallacy is properly because
Oh.
you don't know you don't know what you're talking about at all, right? So yeah, you start off with God. God is my axiom, right? God is the end point. God, that's what are you talking about? It's bathed in God's personality, right? That's a stopping point. And that's the whole point I was trying to make. Every belief comes to a particular stopping point. And the Euthyphro dilemma, you didn't want to entertain, yeah, because you don't want to logically conceive of a God, because you define a God. I can define the laws of logic
Listen,
as
all right,
self-sustaining and
Madine,
necessary,
I do like you. I do like you.
right?
I do like you. I know we got a little heated. I do like you though, so don't
Yeah,
think that I don't like. I don't dislike you. I do still like you.
that's good that you do, but I don't know why you want to play that game. I'll try to have an honest conversation with you,
Be,
right?
because because I'm just again I'm just showing you that these things you do make a lot of assertions that you don't actually justify.
You're,
So
you're making assumptions, right? Right.
for example
Yeah.
though, like if you say that you're smarter than me on tests, you don't know what test I've taken and you don't know what kind of degree I have. So
Sure, but
how do you say that you're smarter than me? On what
sure,
basis?
sure. Well, let's put that aside because that's a separate little topic. You want to talk about things, talk about the philosophy. We can talk about that,
All right. How about this?
right?
You wrap up your one point and then we'll get going because it's getting late.
Right. So keep in mind, I did say I was going to be more polemical at that point,
It's okay.
right?
I still
So
like you. I apologize. I got
yeah.
heated as well. I
So
apologize.
let's not
Go
go
ahead.
down the route of why I think I'm smarter than you. Just start
Okay.
a little
Yeah.
debate or conversation.
Okay.
I mean,
Go ahead.
and keep in mind, I was trying to be polemical. I can make some points
No
towards it, but I
problem.
won't really ground myself on it. You're right to some extent. Obviously, I don't know your schooling, etc.
It's no problem. I like you. I like you. It's okay. It's
I
okay.
do
We can go
suspect
forward.
you've not studied philosophy, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm smarter than you. Maybe I know more philosophy than you.
Right.
Maybe, right? That'll be
I
highly
grant
bad,
that.
but that doesn't mean your IQ's low, and it doesn't mean your IQ's lower than mine. It doesn't mean it could mean that you're a very smart. Your IQ is very high. It could be. I don't know that. So I was being polemical in that respect. Are you there? If you return, I'll. Anthony, are you there? Are you coming back? Can you click on the link because I came on as well as a guest? I don't actually have the powers. Philo did. So can you just click on the link that Philo sent and just enter? Is it possible that you can click on the link and just come in? Where's the link?